Welcome to the fantasy audiobook, Crossing Luffy, Creating a Happy Ending in One Piece. Chapter 61. After Luffy, Dragon and Aikisho finished their pleasant conversation, Luffy left, but Mr. Dragon and Mr. Aikisho were still not satisfied, so they continued to discuss the revolution here. Luffy sensed a little and found that Grandpa Garp and a group of Navy had arrived outside the city of Arubana and then went to meet Garp. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Morgans, the president of the World Economic News Agency. Let's go to Alabasta and reveal the secrets behind the existence of the ancient weapon Pluto. What kind of undercurrent is hidden in this country? In the current capital of Arubana, the naval hero Iron Fist Garp and the admiral candidate of the Navy headquarters Momo Rabbit have led the Navy to the city. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, the man known as the most vicious criminal, also appeared here. Baroque Works and Crocodile are hiding in the Rain City. There are also many powerful people who are in power on this sea who have landed in this country. Why did King Cobra and Princess Vivi disappear mysteriously? Has Crocodile found Pluto? Let us wait and see what happens next. This will be a live broadcast around the world, and this will be a big news that shocks the world. The founder of the news agency also came to Arubana. He took a group of reporters on the street to record and report everything that happened in this country. Why did that bird come to join in the fun? It must have come for the smell. Outside the city, Peach Rabbit Jiwan was so angry that he wanted to draw his sword and go in to chop the annoying bird. Ha 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 ha, don't get excited. The real boss is here, let's ask this little fool what the hell he did. Garp was eating senbei on the side, as if it had nothing to do with him. He's always being a bad guy. Grandpa Garp, Miss Jiwan, long time no see. Luffy arrived and greeted the two. It's you, one of the little guys who was active under Mr. Garp back then. Jiwan said in surprise. Yeah, how is senior sister Kuina these days? Luffy asked with a smile. Jiwan, she's fine. After a while, she can be promoted again with the recommendation of Garp and me. It's great to have connections. Don't interrupt. Kid, what happened? Garp roared. All we have to do now is clean up the mess. Crocodile's plot has been exposed, and he can't make any more waves. Luffy said calmly. What else? You brought the Navy, the Revolutionary Army, and many other strong men here, not just to deal with a sand crocodile, right? Garp asked. Luffy answered the question irrelevantly. Grandpa, it's false that there is Pluto in Alabasta Kingdom. Although there is real information about Pluto, no one can interpret it. Now King Cobra and Princess Vivi have been rescued by us. So, I have to ask you to help with the aftermath. Garp's eyes widened. What? Wait, you said that the news about Pluto was leaked by the king himself, is this false? Luffy. Yes, Grandpa, all this is a script discussed with King Cobra and Princess Vivi. Now, we just need you to join us to appreciate the last performance of Crocodile, the jumping clown. Jiwan held his forehead. You are really messing around. It seems that it will be over soon. Shall we set off now? Garp picked his nose. Okay. You are awesome, you are making a fool of everyone. Wait a little longer, the time is ripe. The national team of the parade will arrive soon, and I will trouble you to maintain order. Luffy said with a smile. Parade, we can't let them into the city. Smoker, who had been silent, said nervously. Yes, because all major cities have suffered varying degrees of natural disasters and man-made disasters, quite a few people have spontaneously gathered and are now almost outside the city. But there is no need to stop them too much. We need to let some people in. They are also spectators. Luffy laughed. On the other side, the fortress outside Arubana. No, why are there so many people outside? We can't let them rush in. The kingdom army stationed here was shocked. No, there is no need to stop them. They are also people who act for this country. They are not rebels. Sabo stood up. Revolutionary Army, are you serious? Can we trust you? Absolutely true. Sabo affirmed. Now, it is very important to stabilize the people's hearts. On the other side, Robin, Princess Vivi, and King Cobra also took action under Luffy's instructions. Robin, you are too weak now. When you face Crocodile, you must be able to protect yourself. Safety first, Luffy said to her, ignoring her surprise, and directly used 2,000 transformation points to speed up the opening of the Robin fruit, speed of release and speed of hockey training. You need to sneak into the palace to lure Crocodile out. Robin, although you are missing in Baroque works now, your identity is still Miss All Sunday. I'll leave it to you. Luffy's words are still ringing in my ears. King Cobra and Princess Vivi entered the palace openly, while Robin sneaked into the underground darkroom where the historical texts were stored. King. It's the king. And Princess Vivi. Great. They are fine. The palace was boiling. Fellow citizens, please be patient. King Cobra and Vivi appeased the enthusiastic people together. In the underground darkroom, Robin broadcast the inside line of Baroque works. Mr. Zero, can you hear it? Miss All Sunday, are you still alive? Crocodile's low voice came from the Den Den Mushi. Mr. Zero, I found the location of Hades, in a dark room under the palace. Crocodile was shocked and ecstatic, and he didn't care about so much at the moment. If his subordinates found it, it meant that he was saved. Great. Well done, Miss All Sunday. You are indeed worthy of being my most capable vice president. Not long after, Crocodile turned into quicksand and came to this dark room without anyone noticing. Miss All Sunday, where is Hades? Crocodile said in surprise after arriving. This is it. Robin pointed to the historical text in front of him. This broken stone. Are you kidding me? Crocodile said angrily. She's not kidding you. Crocodile. King Cobra and Princess Vivi arrived with a large number of royal guards. Torches were suddenly lit in the underground dark room, illuminating the surroundings. Cobra and Vivi, how dare you come back? Crocodile was already crazy at this moment. He rushed to Cobra with one step, grabbed his neck and lifted him up. But what made Crocodile frown was that King Cobra did not resist at all. Let go of the king. Surrender, Crocodile. The guards roared. At this time, the people who were marching also got the news of the king's whereabouts. They shouted the slogan, "Down with Crocodile, save the country and the king and princess," and a large number of people poured into the underground dark room. All of them witnessed the scene of Crocodile picking up King Cobra. Put down the king. White Fist. At this time, Smoker rushed in first. Crocodile was stunned, and Vivi took the opportunity to use her ability to save King Cobra. Navy. Miss Alsunday, did you betray too? Crocodile turned back and glared. Robin frowned and retreated slightly behind everyone. Ha ha ha, don't worry, Smoker. Didn't I say that King Cobra and the princess have been rescued? Garp walked in with a big laugh. Peach Rabbit Jiwan arrived with a knife. Morgans rushed in with his guns and cannons, and Dragon and Yishao also walked in from the other end, watching the scene quietly. At this moment, Luffy and the Straw Hat Adventure Group completed the mission and walked in with laughter. The whole audience fell into a strange silence. A world-famous painting was born. Dear Mr. Morgans. Morgans turned around after hearing this, and Luffy smiled and saluted. Please point the camera at me. After Luffy said this, many guns and cannons were fired at him. Crocodile, your ambition ends here. Luffy said in a deep voice. It's you. You Straw Hat adventurers have always been against me. Crocodile's eyes were red with anger. Crocodile was so angry that he stabbed with his claws. Luffy climbed up the armament hockey on his feet and kicked him away. You, how is it possible? Why do you have to go against me? Crocodile spat out a mouthful of blood and questioned. King Cobra laughed at this time. Many reporters immediately aimed their cameras at the king who was at the center of the storm. Ha 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 ha, Crocodile, are you surprised? I tell you, all this is a trap set up against you. In order to be able to kill you, the former Shichibukai, we took great pains to lead so many strong men to the opposite side of you. Today, you can't escape even if you have wings. People who scheme against others all day will one day fall into the schemes of others. Crocodile, your ambition will never be realized. There is no Pluto in Alabasta. Pluto does not exist. King Cobra almost shouted these words. This is a declaration broadcast live around the world. When the news reached the outside world, the sea boiled. Some strong men showed expressions of, as expected, and some treasure hunters beat their chests and stamped their feet, crying out how they could be fooled like this. The existence of Pluto, which was declared by the king himself, is now denied by the king himself, with reason and evidence. The invasion crisis of Alabasta will naturally be gradually resolved. What's more, there are so many witnesses and so many strong men here. Crocodile, the former Shichibukai. Now you should pay the price for your conspiracy and your wishful ambition. We, the Straw Hat Adventurers, will judge you in the name of justice. Luffy said. Countless cameras were also aimed at Luffy at this time. Luffy said to the camera word by word, "We, the Straw Hat Adventurers, will be partners of justice from beginning to end. We will be enemies of all evildoers. No matter what identity or position, as long as you do evil, it is wrong. We will do what the Navy can't do, and we will take care of what the Navy can't manage. The kingdom of Alabasta is in dire straits because of a former Shichibukai. Anyone with a sense of justice can't sit idly by." These words were passed on through Morgan's hands, and they rushed to report. The sea was in an uproar again. There is no doubt that this public opinion guidance will push the reputation of the Straw Hat Adventurers to a climax. The position of justice will also make some forces regard it as evil and afraid to use force. Isn't this kid putting the Navy on fire with what he said? The Navy will have to think twice before they can move against them in the future. Garp muttered. Then, Crocodile, if you are still a great hero, come and fight. Luffy roared. The live broadcast of the call for a fight, Crocodile was surrounded and had no way to escape. Straw Hat Boy, Crocodile roared. Come, it's small here, go outside. I'll give you this chance. Let me see what the sand fruit can do in the desert. I will personally crush your pride. Luffy hooked his finger at Crocodile. As the two moved to the battlefield, everyone came to the desert outside the city. This is the final battle of Alabasta, which was live broadcast. Straw Hat Boy, you will regret choosing the battlefield in the desert. I will make you regret being my enemy. Crocodile roared hysterically. Have you finished? If you're done, let's get started. Can't you see the audience is waiting impatiently? Luffy said calmly. Simple foul mouth, extreme enjoyment. Straw Hat, get out of my way. Desert Diamond Sword. Crocodile was really furious. In the desert, the sand fruit did get a considerable bonus, and the sand formed 4 huge scimitars, slashing towards Luffy. Oh my god, is this Crocodile's true strength? Some spectators exclaimed. Morgan's heart was also in his throat. If this move hit him, he would definitely be dead. But before some of the audience could finish their exclamation, this powerful move was shattered by Luffy's punch. That's it. Luffy's fist was wrapped with armament hockey, and he punched out. Rubber-armed pistol. Luffy used the moves of Luffy in the original work and shattered Crocodile's Desert Diamond Sword with one punch. Do you think you can be my opponent just because you learned hockey? Crocodile shouted. Luffy ignored him and said to himself, Crocodile, I am a rubber man who ate that gum fruit, this trick can't do anything to me. This is for the Navy to hear, tell the world government, tell the devil. How ridiculous. Shalon. Luffy finally moved, with armament hockey wrapped around his legs, stretched out his legs, and used only the properties of rubber to kick Crocodile wrapped in sand. Rubber armor Jojuin. A kick like a heavy whip sent Crocodile, who had merged with the desert, flying away fiercely. In midair, Crocodile had already spit out a mouthful of reverse blood. Oh my god, am I seeing things? Crocodile in this state was crushed by this guy all the way. The people of Alabasta were amazed. Smoker was shocked and said, this is Storm Legs. You can actually be so proficient. Gian glanced at him and said, if your grandfather was also Garp, you would have known the 6 styles of the Navy by heart. Morgans took the camera and clicked, big news. Big news. The former Shichibukai was ruthlessly crushed. Kunin Yalo. Crocodile's mouth was bleeding, and he finally got up. Is this all you can do? Crocodile, where is the bravery you had when fighting against Devil's Heir and Whitebeard? It seems that the great failure has made you lose your spirit, and even your armament hockey is so weak that it makes people laugh. How much of your current strength is still at your peak? Luffy taunted mercilessly. Crocodile's veins bulged. Don't look down on me. Immerse yourself in the cycle of reincarnation. Seeing Crocodile attacking again, Luffy did not move this time, and just let Crocodile's palm print on his chest. Many viewers held their breath immediately. Ha 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 ha, you're done. Straw Hat Kid. My sand fruit is. Crocodile was shocked to see that the man in front of him was unharmed before he finished laughing. You, how is it possible? Is it your hockey? Have you had enough fun? Luffy did not answer him directly. Luffy thought, let's try using Grandpa Garp's moves. Rubber armor falling to the seabed. Luffy slapped Crocodile's chest hard, and with one blow, Crocodile was hit back and plowed several meters away. This brat, Garp, who was watching the show, widened his eyes. As expected, you were really so weak, Luffy said helplessly. Crocodile was lying on the ground, covered in blood, and stood up with difficulty. Luffy did not move at this time, but released the domineering haki to press him, but he had tried his best to control the intensity of the domineering haki released, but Crocodile was still shocked to kneel on the ground. Morgans exclaimed, "Oh my god! Conqueror's haki, the qualifications of a king." There were guns and cannons all around. Morgans thought, will this person be the Vayne of the new era? This is world-class news. Luffy controlled the intensity of the release of his domineering power, enough to make the world government and the navy take him seriously, but not to completely provoke their nerves. You forced me to do this. Let me show you the real power of the sand fruit in the desert. Crocodile was furious. Is it finally coming? The power of the awakening of the sand fruit. Crocodile has obtained the sand fruit for decades, so he shouldn't have even awakened, right? Zar. As the voice fell, the entire desert began to surge, forming a giant statue in the air. This is it. This is the real power of Crocodile. It's really terrifying, Morgans exclaimed, and began to worry. If he loses. Garp picked his nose and said disdainfully, "Tisk, fancy words." Luffy didn't look down on Crocodile at all this time, and thought about it seriously. This might should be enough for him to use 30% of his strength, no more. If it's more, the world government and the navy will now regard him as a thorn in their eyes. The strength shown by Crocodile's counterattack at this moment before his death, 300 million. Then, I'll be serious for the first time in a long time. Crocodile, let's die here, Luffy shouted in the sandstorm. The onlookers couldn't see the situation in the field with their naked eyes. Hearing this, they realized, is it finally over? Armed Lance of Elbaf Vegas. Luffy's move is different from Ace's, and he attacks with the intention of killing. A huge roar sounded, and a big hole was broken in Crocodile's sand colossus, which was blown away by the wind. Crocodile fell from midair, his chest and abdomen were bloody, and he wanted to say something, but only blood flowed out of his mouth. Luffy lowered his head and whispered to Crocodile, "To be honest, Pluto does exist, but in Wano country. Unfortunately, it's useless for you to know, and your ambition is destined to be unrealized. Killing people, and destroying their hearts." Crocodile's eyes were completely dead, and this desert buried Crocodile's mysterious past and his ambitions. Morgans shouted excitedly, "This is the end of Crocodile. Big news tomorrow. Declaration of the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group. Fighting the former Shichibukai crocodile in public." Luffy silently watched Crocodile's body being swallowed by the desert. This was also a decent way to give this hero a death. In the original work, Crocodile was imprisoned and impelled down after his failure. During the war on the top, he followed the protagonist to escape from prison and re-entered the Grand Line. Unfortunately, this time, Luffy did not let this ambitious pirate go like in the original work, and naturally there will be no more of him in the future of this story. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have participated highly in the Alabasta turmoil, changed the fate of several important people, and obtained a total of 6,000 transformation points, and now there are 10,000 transformation points. Congratulations to the host for harvesting that natural system sand fruit. The voice of the system sounded continuously in my mind. What a surprising harvest. Luffy came back to his senses, so it's time to deal with the follow-up. Luffy turned around and walked towards Morgans in the distance. "Mr. Morgans, please make a statement to the whole of Alabasta on my behalf." Morgans excitedly began to record. "Yes. Please speak, sir. This is the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group, Monkey D. Luffy. Crocodile, who has been harming Alabasta for many years, has now been killed." Luffy thought for a moment and continued. "Alabasta, from now on, the whole territory is liberated." For a moment, King Cobra and Princess Vivi burst into tears after hearing Luffy's declaration. Finally, it's finally over. The crowd was boiling, and amid the noise, the sound of celebration from all over the country rang out. Alabasta is finally safe. Crocodile is dead. Baroque Works is also dead in name only. There will be no more man-made droughts in the future. Mr. Monkey D. Luffy is our national hero. And so on. Garp also comforted the crying royals around him seriously. Mr. Dorag and Mr. Yishao didn't like the hustle and bustle, so they left quietly after the battle. Nico Robin also walked away and sighed alone. Mr. Garp, your grandson has done something incredible this time. Ji Yuan held his forehead helplessly. Anyway, we'll be busy later. Ji Yuan didn't want to go to work. Garp heard it and just laughed. He didn't want to clean up this mess. Morgans excitedly wrote a press release, as Monkey D. Luffy a new hope or a new storm in the new era. Among the supernovas emerging on the Grand Line, Monkey D. Luffy is the most popular. The Straw Hat Adventurers founded by Monkey D. Luffy are completely different from pirates and the Navy. This is a brand new model. They represent the position of justice. And what kind of variables will this bring to this sea? The old era has begun to end. Who will be the next to be judged by the Straw Hat Adventurers? The gears of the times have begun to turn. Let us look forward to the future together and wait and see. Navy Headquarters. What a joke. Since the Straw Hat Adventurers claim to be just, why don't they join the Navy? Admiral Akainu slammed the table. There are many times when the Navy does nothing, and there must be reasons for them not to join the Navy. Admiral Aokiji said lightly. Be careful with your words. Admiral Kizaru still does his own thing. The public opinion this guy is leading now is not good news for the Navy. Since he has killed a Shichibukai, we can't just let it go. I mean, try to invite him to join the Shichibukai. Marshal Sengoku was thoughtful. Isn't this kid's grandfather Garp? It's not too late to talk about it when he comes back. Aokiji put on his eye mask again. Aokiji is not calm now, because he saw a familiar figure in the live broadcast of the battle in Alabasta, and he is thinking about whether to go and see the situation. The Navy general who had the ability of the PPT fruit presented the information he had collected. The Straw Hat Adventure Group, so far, almost no pirates who were enemies of them have left alive. Since they appeared in the sea, they have successively destroyed the forces of the Navy trader Monka, the Clown Buggy Pirates, the Black Cat Pirates, the Click Pirates, the Fishman Arlong Pirates. Among them, the only captain left alive was the pirate Buggy who did some stealing and robbing. Compared with others, Buggy is indeed a good citizen. After entering the Grand Line, they instantly killed the Navy Colonel Smoker in Rogue Town, causing a commotion. It is rumored that the name change of the Drum Kingdom is also related to them. The strength shown by the captain of the group in the Battle of Alabasta, calculated according to the bounty, conservatively 500 million. Conservatively 500 million Baileys. Why did such a strong man suddenly appear on the sea without any previous relationship? Report. Such a young strong man. The strength he just showed, I feel he can even rival the pirate empress. Zhang was speechless. If we can win them over to become the 7 warlords of the sea, it will definitely be a great thing for the Navy. With their righteous stance, they can completely help us do what the Navy can't do. Zhang finalized the policy. Everywhere in the Grand Line. He actually said that he was a partner of the Justice Camp. He said that he would be an enemy of all evil forces. This kid is really bold. Ha 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 ha. Doflamingo looked at the newspaper with bulging veins, because he had already fallen out with this group of people, and the 2 subordinates he sent out mysteriously disappeared, and the last ones to contact were them. He, you have to be careful. Doflamingo, your activities have been exposed, these people will not sit idly by. Doflamingo's den mushi rang. Don't be sarcastic, be careful or I will kill you. Moria, quote. Hurry, there are still many aftermaths to deal with. There are still wounded to treat, and damaged buildings and facilities to rebuild. The Kingdom Army and Navy of Alabasta began to get busy. At this moment, Luffy and his group returned to the palace surrounded by enthusiastic people. Princess Vivi and King Cobra were still in a dream. They witnessed with their own eyes that Crocodile, who had poisoned the country for many years, was ruthlessly crushed in front of Luffy and fought hard. Everything that happened was too dreamy. King Cobra, Vivi, you still have a lot of things to deal with next. Luffy approached with a smile. Seeing this, the 2 came back to their senses. That's right. There is still a lot of aftermath work after the war. The people also need to recuperate after all this. Then they began to direct the progress of various repair and restoration work. King Cobra, You are in your prime and need to become the backbone of this country. In the future, I don't want to see this country fall again. Luffy said. Haha, I want to, but my strength doesn't allow it. Cobra touched the back of his head awkwardly. Of course, King Cobra, look what this is. Luffy said as he took out something. Luffy took out a cactus-like fruit and handed it to King Cobra. This is Crocodile's sand fruit. After Crocodile died, this fruit actually fell into your hands, Mr. Luffy. King Cobra seemed extremely surprised, and then looked at Luffy with a complicated expression. Everyone has their own secrets, so I won't ask you how you did it. What are you doing? King Cobra, my suggestion is to let this sand fruit become your strength and become the mainstay of supporting this country with you. Luffy said solemnly. In fact, Luffy had already thought about the ownership of this sand fruit. In the desert, the greatest power of this fruit can also be exerted. Besides, this natural sand fruit that once brought fear and disaster to this country finally became the real power to protect this country. Isn't it very pleasing? Eat this sand fruit, King Cobra. You may become the most powerful king. Besides, you can protect your homeland by yourself without relying on others, aren't you tempted? Luffy asked with a smile. Vivi showed an expression of, as expected, she ate the devil fruit in this way. Cobra hesitated and said, but, Mr. Luffy, such a precious natural devil fruit, you just gave it to an old man like me, right? Luffy shook his head. No need to say more, King Cobra. This is the most suitable devil fruit for this country, and it is also the most suitable devil fruit for you to use to stabilize the people. I might still worry if it falls into the hands of others. But, you are the king of this country, and no one knows this country better than you. Under normal circumstances, no one knows the power of the desert better than you. Of course, I am not giving you this fruit without any conditions. Cobra's eyes lit up. Mr. Luffy, please speak. Luffy, King Cobra, you hope that you can use the power of this natural sand fruit to make this country more peaceful and prosperous in the future. At the same time, I hope that King Cobra can support Vivi's decision. Vivi may be very suitable to be a king, but she is more suitable to do what she wants. With the power of this fruit, the last reason for keeping Vivi in this country to guard it has disappeared. Luffy's move is really, the dagger is revealed. Vivi opened her mouth slightly when she heard this, and Cobra looked at her daughter with a teasing look. Vivi immediately looked away. Cobra, you're kidding, I'm an understanding old man. How can I not support this? I definitely support it. Just imagine a young talent who is less than 20 years old, strong, with a strong background, generous, and as handsome as the readers, who has crushed the bully who has occupied a country since his debut. He wants to take his daughter away, who wouldn't like it if she could become his own? Cobra then said solemnly, okay. I promise you. As a father, of course I won't stop my daughter from doing what she wants to do. Luffy immediately smiled and handed that sand fruit to Cobra. Helping King Cobra and Princess Vivi save the country, fight Crocodile, and become a hero of this country, the people will not resist Vivi following the hero, it is a means. Attracting many powerful people, including the president of the World Economic News Agency, announcing the justice of the Straw Hat Adventure Group in front of everyone, guiding public opinion, and making it impossible for this country, the Navy, and the world government to classify them as pirates before the war on the top, this is also a means. Help Vivi gain strength, recognize herself, and win her heart. Help Cobra also get enough power to protect this country by herself, and no longer need Vivi to stay. This last condition has also been met. Luffy left the palace after meeting King Cobra and Princess Vivi, while his companions stayed in the palace and had a banquet with the people. The crisis in this country has been gradually resolved, which really makes me happy. On the other side, Yi Xiao raised his glass and toasted with Dragon. Yes, there is no doubt that this great victory will also become an important milestone in the revolutionary journey of the new revolutionary army. Mr. Dragon raised his glass and smiled. You two are really in a good mood, add me. Luffy walked in. Hey, the hero of Alabasta is here. Mr. Yi Xiao joked. Don't talk bad to me, Mr. Yi Xiao. Without your help, there wouldn't be such a good effect. Luffy sat down with a smile. Now, because of the invasion of foreign pirates, the Kingdom Army and the original rebel army united to resist the foreign enemy at the first time, and the civil strife is basically over. If you want to resolve the conflict, diverting the conflict is also a good way. With the help of the Navy and the Revolutionary Army, with the help of the world government, the internal friction of this country can be completely ignored. Now it can be said that there is unprecedented unity and a common hatred of the enemy. Because of this incident, the world government's aid grants were also given to Alabasta, a member country. The urgent need can be solved. With the collapse of Baroque works, in the next few years, this country only needs to recuperate and soon its national strength will be better than before. Mr. Dragon concluded. Luffy, not only that, I heard from Grandpa Garp that he was too lazy to take care of such a mess and returned immediately. But the Navy headquarters believes that at this stage, a strong man must be left in Alabasta to maintain order. Look, Miss Peach Rabbit, Jiwan has been temporarily stationed. Mr. Yishao laughed and said, ha 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 ha, this way, this country can be safe. Quote, now, the Navy and the Revolutionary Army in Alabasta are jointly responsible for handling the aftermath, and the two organizations are very tacitly at peace at this time. This is, of course, the revolutionary friendship of fighting the same enemy, and fighting together cannot be eliminated by a mere position. Navy. The enemy of the Revolutionary Army is the world government. What does it have to do with my Navy? Haven't you seen the bosses of both sides sitting together for tea? What are they fighting for? They are comrades in arms. Now, Mr. Yishao has decided to join the Revolutionary Army. Luffy asked. Yes, I arranged a position for Mr. Yishao as the deputy commander of the Revolutionary Army, and the command power is only under me. Mr. Dragon answered first. Yishao nodded and said, well, I have fully understood your justice. I yearn for it. This is for the revolution of the world. This is glorious justice. We have no choice but to do it. Congratulations. Quote, Luffy knew that if the news about Pluto was leaked, the Navy would definitely attack, and it might even send a Navy admiral. Therefore, he took the initiative in advance. Notifying Grandpa Garp to go out was enough. And Grandpa Garp, an old salted fish, would definitely not want to clean up the mess. Therefore, he could only bring in another, own man, to calm the situation. When Luffy thought about it, didn't Miss Jiwan look like a big victim? Don't think about ITJPG. Mr. Dragon, I want you to do me a favor. Luffy said. You said that you will definitely do your best within your ability. Dragon said seriously. Luffy, I need a fake identity and a disguise in the Revolutionary Army. Dragon had long wanted his son to join the Revolutionary Army, so there was nothing wrong with it. Of course there is no problem. Just one of the deputy commanders of the Revolutionary Army. How about it? In the future, I may use this identity to declare war on the world government. Is that okay? Quote, Dragon, we are the enemies of the world government at this stage, what's the problem? Luffy thought for a while. Then the name of this identity is Carney. At night, the temperature in Arubana was still a little cool. After a busy day, people fell asleep after celebrating the whole country. Now that the crisis is over, they can finally enjoy a good dream. What are you thinking about? So absorbed. Luffy came to Robin, who was blowing in the evening breeze with a faint smile on his lips. Robin looked up at Luffy's face, lowered his head slightly, and chuckled. You seem to be leaving this country. You've worked hard. Everything is over. Do you feel that there is nowhere to go, Miss Robin? In fact, where there are people who miss you, it will be your home. Calm down. Isn't the anchor that can make you feel at ease right beside you? Luffy raised his eyebrows and smiled. Is that so? Maybe it is. Robin held his chin in contemplation, as if he had made some kind of determination. Have a good rest, Robin. Think about it tomorrow if there is anything. Anyway, you don't have to live in fear now. Luffy's smile at this moment was too bright. Robin thought, what an infectious brother. By the way, Robin, how do you feel about the template for the accelerated fruit ability development and the power of accelerated dual-color domineering training that I gave you before? Luffy asked. Robin smiled slightly. The training of domineering has benefited me a lot. It's really magical. I feel that I will be able to fully master domineering in a short time. But, what is the Senbon Sakura Kujian of Kushiki Byakuya in my mind? This really looks like a character and ability in a novel picture book. Robin changed the subject. What's wrong, Luffy? Do you want my flower fruit to develop and awaken in this direction? Luffy rolled his eyes and smiled at Robin. Robin, don't you think that devil fruit is just like a product of imagination? The greater the imagination, the greater the power of devil fruit. Devil fruit is more like a combat power amplifier for the ability user. How can it be inconvenient? Of course, it doesn't mean that your flower fruit is not well developed, but it's the opposite. Your development is particularly functional gender, practicality. But the power of the devil fruit is born from the thoughts of the ability user. His changes also depend on the ability user. The greater the imagination, the greater the power of the devil fruit. If you want to become more powerful, you can try to develop the awakening direction of the flower fruit ability towards Senbon Sakura Kujian. That is a magical and powerful ability, isn't it? Quote. Robin smiled when he heard it. Haha, you really make people interested when you say that. Senbon Sakura Kujian, is it? Is it really so easy to do such a thing? Quote. Of course you can, Miss Robin. No matter how you want the power form of flower fruit to change, the ability you have mastered will not disappear. It is a concrete product of your imagination. Flower fruit will only become more and more suitable for you as you become stronger. Quote. Luffy smiled lightly. Robin held his chin up. Luffy, why do you want to help me like this? Robin's eyes moved, staring at Luffy. Don't you know that people who have connections with me have suffered more or less misfortune? Luffy stretched. Robin, do you think I care about these? I don't care about your past, I can't participate in your past, but in the future, we will need you. Really, but defeating a mere crocodile does not mean that you can compete with the world government. It's better not to have any intersection with me, this is the best choice. Robin sighed softly, with an inexplicable loneliness in his eyes. Luffy's thoughts drifted far away, and he said solemnly. Robin, are you worried about the world government? Or the CP organization? These are not the issues you should be afraid of now. Believe in your companions, they will settle everything for you. As long as you still want to live. Are you serious? Robin was shocked, and he didn't know what he was thinking. That's the world government, and the most mysterious spy organization in the world. Do you want to be their enemy? Luffy laughed. You are indeed the orphan of O'Hara, but you are not a devil's son. After all, this is not your responsibility, and you are not a bad person, right? Robin sighed faintly. You really know everything. Even so, you still want to help me who has nowhere to go. Even if you may lose everything because of it. Luffy's eyes were bright in the night. Robin, please have confidence in yourself and the people around you who care about you. You have been like this for so many years, and the future will not continue. Robin's eyes were lonely. You know, for so many years, in this cannibalistic world, in order to survive, I have done everything I can. I will do whatever it takes to get what I want. Luffy suddenly laughed, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Does it matter? In this corrupt world with undercurrents, no ordinary person can live a peaceful life. Every ordinary person works hard to survive. You are a special one, but not the most special one. There are many people walking alone, and they suffer no less than you. But you are also a very lucky one. You have many people who love you and protect you, so that you can survive under the violent power of the Demon Slayer Order. Your relatives in O'Hara are like this, the giant who swore to defend you to death is like this, and the admiral who let you go is also like this. To survive or to destroy, you have a choice. It's not your fault that you have to wander around for survival. Are you willing to just muddle along like this? Everything is probably a matter of unwillingness. Because I am unwilling, I try to survive. Because I am unwilling, I wander around. Because I am unwilling, I live under someone else's roof. If you don't want to live up to this luck, don't want to live up to yourself, you should live well. Quote. Robin murmured. Am I lucky? Luffy waved his hand and turned away. Okay, let's stop here tonight. The sun will rise as usual tomorrow, see you tomorrow. In the morning, the first dazzling rays of morning light shone on the city. The square in front of the palace was already crowded with eagerly awaited people. Today was the day when King Cobra announced an important speech. Luffy and his party also arrived as scheduled. King Cobra stood on the high platform and raised the loudspeaker Den Den Mushi. Dear people of the Kingdom of Alabasta, welcome everyone. I am King Nefertari Cobra. First of all, I want to solemnly apologize to all the people of the Kingdom of Alabasta. All along, because of the king's incompetence, he could not stop Crocodile's conspiracy and ambition, and could not stop the monopoly of Baroque works. King Cobra first bowed deeply to the people below, and the people below shouted like a tsunami, "The king is not wrong. The king saved us." Cobra pressed his hands down, signaling everyone to calm down, and then continued. Fortunately, after all of us have gone through arduous struggles, we have finally achieved the final victory. Baroque works has been destroyed, Crocodile has been brought to justice. The dawn has come to our Kingdom of Alabasta. In the past 2 years, my daughter, Vivi, went out for an adventure. It was a journey across the dark sea, looking for hope from despair. The ocean outside the territory of Alabasta is very vast, with islands with incredibly strong vitality. Things that have never been seen before, dreamlike scenery. The music played by the waves is sometimes gentle and peaceful, as if it can soothe the myriad thoughts that surge in my heart. Sometimes it is generous, and the passion was so strong that it seemed to tear my daughter's will apart and laugh at her cowardice. In such a storm, my daughter was rescued by a small boat. There was the captain who planned and controlled the overall situation and worked hard to open up the future for his companions. The swordsman who always got lost while carrying tons of weights to practice every day. The chef who tried every means to prevent the food stored in the refrigerator from being stolen by the captain. The greedy navigator who threw my daughter's pillow when he was confused in sleep. The ship's doctor who always spoke sarcastically but had great medical skills. The sniper who liked to brag but every boast turned into reality. And the silent fighter who always worked hard. The boat kept cheering my daughter up and said, "Can't you see the light?" The incredible boat would not lose its direction even in the dark, and it would jump across the strong winds and waves like a leap. Even when encountering strong waves, the bow of the boat would still move forward straight, and would not turn around when encountering headwinds. Then, it pointed to the front and said to my daughter, "Look, there is light." Although this legend will be listed as nonsense, but for my daughter, it is extremely true. Even as a king, I am often confused, hesitant, and helpless. But when I think of you, my people, I will receive infinite power and create infinite possibilities. Maybe in the past, our country has suffered many disasters, but in the future, I, King Cobra, promises everyone that every tomorrow will be better. Now that the disaster of the Kingdom of Alabasta has been resolved, it is time to rebuild. In the name of the king, I will issue a new decree to this country that benefits the people. The Kingdom of Alabasta has ushered in a new era. In the new era, the kingdom will gradually build infrastructure that benefits the people, and build transportation hubs and roads in various cities. Develop education so that everyone can receive education. Liberate productivity and develop productivity. The first thing to develop is agriculture and industry, and thoroughly solve the difficulties in people's lives. The country will formulate perfect laws, and everyone is equal. If the king violates this, he will be guilty of the same crime as the people. Later, the specific matters will be announced to each city. From now on, the people of this country will spur themselves with the word People's Convention of Peace, Development, Freedom, Equality, Justice, and Rule of Law. We will all have a bright future. King Cobra paused at this time, and the people below held their breath and waited for the next words. In the past, the power of this sand fruit brought fear and suffering to countless people. From now on, the power of sand fruit will become the pillar of the Kingdom of Alabasta, and protect this country together with all the people. King Cobra then demonstrated the power of sand fruit, and cheers broke out in the kingdom. Finally, we want to thank the Navy. Without them, our country would have been in such a difficult situation. Furthermore, we want to thank the Revolutionary Army for their selfless help. Because of them, the civil strife in the Kingdom of Alabasta has ended. From now on, the Kingdom of Alabasta will not be willing to be enemies with the Revolutionary Army. We also want to thank all the people from all walks of life who came to help the Kingdom of Alabasta and help us. They are equally selfless. However, what we need to be most grateful to is the Straw Hat Adventure Group. They are partners of justice. It is their captain Mr. Monkey D. Luffy killed Crocodile and helped us save this country with his companions. I hereby declare that Mr. Monkey D. Luffy has become the national hero of our country. Let us give warm applause and blessings to the hero." After King Cobra's words fell, the whole audience burst into cheers like a tsunami. "The king is wise. Thank you, Navy. Thank you, Revolutionary Army. Mr. Monkey D. Luffy is our hero." After a long time of cheering, King Cobra continued. "Our princess, Vivi, has been with the heroes and has received a lot of help from the heroes. She is no longer cowardly, confused, or weak. Her growth is obvious to all. From now on, Princess Vivi may set sail with the heroes again and adventure together. Let us sincerely wish the princess all the best." Quote. The people cheered again. In their eyes, Princess Vivi was also a hero. In a house in the corner, 3 mysterious people wearing masks whispered. "King Cobra seems to be close to the Revolutionary Army and needs to be beaten. Straw Hat Adventure Group. It may also be a dangerous element. There seems to be traces of Devil's Son here." Suddenly, an indescribable pressure accurately pressed them to the ground. "You seem to be officials of the world government. The running dogs of the celestial dragons. Please do not make trouble in this country." Yi Xiao stroked his cane sword and came quietly. "Hidden strongman, who are you? What force are you?" The 3 CP organization members were horrified. This pressure was no weaker than that of the Admiral of the Navy. Yi Xiao thought about it and still felt that there was no need to reveal his identity at this stage. "Haha, it's not worth mentioning. I'm just a wanderer. CP0. Not worth mentioning. We have no ill intentions. The mission of the survey has been completed. Since you are here, we will leave." CP0 felt the pressure getting heavier and heavier, and immediately obeyed his heart. After Cobra's speech, they came to Mr. Dragon's residence. Drag smiled and said, "King Cobra doesn't need to explain, I understand the reason." Cobra. "Maybe, our Nefertari clan is also D." This conversation was extremely secretive, and no one knew what they talked about. The Straw Hat Adventure Group's journey in Alabasta was over, and they had gradually boarded the Golden Mary. "Let's go. Set sail. You too." Luffy turned his head and showed his signature smile to the 2 behind him. The 2 looked at each other, and the crew members who had already boarded the ship also looked at them with eager eyes. "We are partners. Of course. We will never separate. Mary. Welcome, Miss Nico Robin and Miss Nefertari Vivi. I am the ship spirit of the Mary." At sea, the Golden Mary had already left the port of Rape Flower, and the horizon was almost invisible. A ship suddenly approached the Golden Mary. "Hey, Sabo, are you out to sea too?" Luffy waved and shouted at the ship. A figure stepped briskly and jumped onto the deck of the Mary. "Yes, Luffy, are you planning to go to the next destination?" Sabo smiled and raised his head, posed a gentleman's salute, and looked around at everyone. "It seems that you have gained new companions. Congratulations. Hello, we have met before. I am Sabo." Everyone greeted each other, and Luffy asked, "Are you done with Alabasta?" "Well, the people of this country will remember everything the Revolutionary Army has done, and the Revolutionary Army will also remember everything this country has done." Sabo's eyes were far away. The little white son wearing a straw hat came bouncing up to him. "Hello, Captain's brother. I'm Meili, the ship spirit." Sabo's eyes widened. "Ship spirit? I didn't expect this legend to be true. You really embodied this legend." Sabo touched the cute creature in front of him. "This is a physical entity. You were really a surprise." "Yeah, I was also surprised when I first got on the ship." Nico Robin teased. "Here, this is for you." Sabo handed out delicious food and a bottle of good wine, and Luffy and Zoro reached out to take it. "But I'm sorry, I don't know what other people like, and I didn't have time to prepare gifts." Sabo laughed heartily. "Let's have a party, Sabo." Luffy smiled knowingly. Sabo also followed to the banquet hall. It's a pity that Alabasta didn't find the wine that was stolen from Aunt Dayton, otherwise it would be more interesting. "It doesn't matter if you can't find it. No matter when and where we are, aren't we 3 brothers?" Luffy took a sip of wine and said vaguely. "Sabo, of course, come on, you still remember the promise, Luffy." "Luffy, well, Ace was sad for a long time when he heard that you died in a shipwreck. But I always believed that you were still alive somewhere in the world and we would meet again one day in the future. Ha ha ha, now I think about it, I still feel very familiar. Fate is really wonderful. It seems that we are all lucky people favored by fate. Sabo sighed. Luffy followed his thoughts and drifted away. A pair of boots, a pair of slippers, and a pair of loafers. These 3 pairs of shoes have stepped out 3 completely different but equally passionate life paths. About 9 years ago, behind the windmill village, there is a mountain called Kolber, which no one dares to enter. Only the strong can survive there. At that time, Garp wanted to keep Luffy away from Red Hair, so he took the young Luffy to the village of the mountain bandit Dayton and entrusted the important task of taking care of Luffy to Dayton. Ace also grew up to 10 years old under Dayton's training. Dayton also lived with son of One Piece and grandson of Garp. That was the first time Luffy and Ace met. Even eating places that had to be fought for were naturally not a difficult task for Luffy, who was much stronger than ordinary children. Ace, who fought for the first time, was a little skeptical about life, which also made Ace realize that only the strongest can gain a foothold. Luffy stayed with this brother in the original book for the rest of his life. Ace realized that Luffy was much stronger than him, but at that time Luffy was busy growing up quickly and did not agree to Ace's constant requests for competition. Ace was a little tired later, and he didn't care about Luffy, who was 3 years younger than him. Ace has lived in the world's disgust and hatred since he was a child. Ace grew up in the forest without the love of his father and mother. This made Ace independent and withdrawn. Ace has been living in confusion. However, Luffy became a new trouble in Ace's life. Luffy often shouted to Ace, "Be my friend." The childish words always made Ace speechless. After living like this for 3 months, Luffy passed through the forest and found Ace at the waste terminal. At the same time, he witnessed Ace stealing the pirate's treasure. Luffy followed him and found Sabo, who was also 10 years old, on a tree. It turned out that Ace ran around the forest residence every day to collect treasures. Every day, Ace and Sabo competed to see who collected more money, and winning or losing didn't matter. This money was considered by Ace and Sabo as a pirate deposit that would be used sooner or later, and it had been saved for 5 years. They didn't let Luffy find them because they were afraid that Luffy would reveal their dreams one day. The 2 children dreamed of the free sea and went out to sea as pirates. A member of the Blue Jam Pirates, whose treasure was stolen by Ace, happened to pass by. Ace realized that he had stolen the pirate's treasure and Ace still had a little fear of the cruel pirate. However, the members of the Blue Jam Pirates still found out that it was the children who stole their treasure, and then took away Luffy, who appeared. Ace and Sabo tried their best to transfer the treasure. They didn't believe that Luffy would keep his mouth shut. Although Luffy knew the plot when he was a child, he just used the Conqueror's Haki to stun all the pirates and lay on the ground pretending to be dead. After Ace and Sabo transferred the treasure for a long time, they found that the pirates still didn't come. They realized that Luffy might be in trouble. They didn't expect that a fool like Luffy didn't say that they stole the treasure, which shocked Ace. Ace and Sabo rushed into the pirate's lair and found Luffy, who looked weak. At this time, the members of the Blue Jam Pirates woke up, and Ace and Sabo went forward to fight without fear. The 2 finally defeated the enemy and left with Luffy. Ace didn't understand why he didn't surrender in the face of a group of old, weak, women and children who could be killed by evil people. Luffy actually said, "If we surrender to evil, we can no longer be friends." Ace didn't understand why this stubborn guy had to be friends with him. Luffy replied that he and Ace and Sabo were both human beings, and they could only survive by relying on each other. Ace fell into deep thought. People had no hope for Roger's descendants and thought that Ace had no meaning to live. But he gradually found the taste of being recognized from Luffy. Luffy shouted that he hoped Ace would live well. It was the first time that Ace heard someone want him to live, and he felt a strong sense of recognition in his heart. After that, the 3 lived together and hunted for a living every day. At the same time, the Blue Gem Pirates also wanted to recover the treasure, and Dayton also made plans for the worst result of the pirates coming to the door. Ace, Sabo, and Luffy have been challenging each other, but how could Ace and Sabo beat Luffy, who was a hanger-on? The 2 of them never won once together. Located to the north of Mount Kolber is the Waste Terminal. There is a castle to the north of the Waste Terminal, but it is impassable because of its solid stone walls. The gate called the main gate is the only passage, and twice a day, a large amount of junk collected from all over the country is transported to the Waste Terminal. Sometimes supplies are sold around the Waste Terminal. The three brothers pretend to sell crocodile skins to enter the city, and they can easily win even if they are blackmailed. The name of this country is the Kingdom of Goa, which has no garbage and is known as the most beautiful country in the East China Sea. The windmill village where Luffy was born also seems to belong to this country, as if it has been forgotten. Sabo exposed his identity because he showed the noble's token. In desperation, Sabo could only admit that he was the son of a noble, and was despised by Ace and Luffy. Sabo revealed that he was neither an orphan nor grew up in the waste terminal, and now his father has discovered his traces. Sabo was tired of this aristocratic thinking. His parents put pressure on him to become a so-called upper class, and the children of the royal family also ordered Sabo to obey them. Nobles like certain people who can protect their status and property. Sabo thinks this is a suffocating country, and he got rid of the noble's home for freedom. The three people who have never felt the love of their parents may have come together because of such fate. After telling his story, Sabo vowed that he must go to sea, leave this country, and ride freely. Ace also told his dream: he wants to become a pirate, keep winning, and never give up. Luffy just said the dream that shocked the two, that is, to change the world. Ace, Sabo, and Luffy stole Dayton's wine, and used the trunk as a table under the shade and sunshine of the tree to carry the three people's wine agreement. Although they may not be partners on the same ship in the future, this ceremony has established the bond between the three. From the moment they clinked glasses, they became brothers for life. After that, the three brothers built their secret base treehouse on the tallest tree. At the top of the tree, the pirate flag belonging to their will, ASL, was raised. After Dayton found them, he complained that no one would take care of them, but deep love was born. During a hunting trip, a big tiger took the three brothers as prey. The three brothers could not defeat it together, but they did not use the conqueror's haki. An old man named Nagli helped them. He was just an old man who picked up rags, but he burst out with such strength. Nagli also frankly said that he had fought with the pirate King Roger, and gradually became like this after being defeated. After hearing this, Ace turned around and left. Ace hated Roger and hated this father he had never met, because he had always lived in the shadow of this man. Nagli understood. Ace later asked Nagli, "War, will you hate Roger after losing?" Nagli replied, "Although I am unwilling to lose to him, it is just because I am not strong enough. On the contrary, I am very grateful to him because Roger gave them a way out. If you lose, your life will be in danger. This is the real world of pirates, but Roger is a little different." Nagli took them to a hidden place. That was the ship he was building. He was going to sea to find his lost partners. The old man believed that the pursuit of dreams had nothing to do with age, and nothing could stop the old man from going to sea. In this way, the three brothers have grown a lot under the training of Nagli, and the three brothers also understand that the one who can be recognized by the crew is the captain. After returning, Sabo's father suddenly appeared and forcibly took Sabo away. In the family of the nobles, the child only it is a chip for continuous wealth, but it cannot have the most precious thing in life, freedom. After Sabo was forcibly taken away, he accidentally learned a piece of news, that is, the observation team of the world government is about to arrive. In order to remove the stain, the king has ordered the burning of the waste terminal and the destruction of everything in the waste terminal. In order to rescue civilians, Sabo immediately jumped out of the window and left home. But Sabo found out that the country colluded with pirates to spread gasoline and bombs. It turned out that everyone knew and acquiesced. The nobles' thoughts were corrupt and the country was hopeless. Burning waste on the day of the terminal, the colluded pirates found that not only could they not become nobles, but they would also be discarded as chess pieces. Sabo tried desperately to change all this, but it was useless. At this time, Sabo met Dragon, who listened to Sabo's heartfelt words. Dragon sighed that he finally let the child say such words. The pirates who had nothing found Ace and Luffy in the burning waste terminal. Ace was about to die under the pirates' knives, so he released the domineering. The Dayton bandit family finally arrived. After the battle, the waste terminal was desperate. People suddenly discovered a huge wind tunnel created by the Revolutionary Army, and everyone was rescued. The next morning, Sabo was captured and brought home again. Seeing that the day after tomorrow was the time to welcome the celestial dragons, Sabo could no longer bear the life of a caged bird, stole a fishing boat, and left the kingdom of Goa, but was sunk by the celestial dragon's ships on the way. At the critical moment, Dragon appeared and rescued Sabo from the fire. Sabo also lost his memory from then on. But at that time, no one could prove that Sabo was rescued. Quote. The above is the 3 sworn brothers we experienced when we were young. When your bad news came, Ace cried for a long time. Although I have always believed that you are still alive, I only got news about you not long ago. Luffy was drinking, and Sabo was a little drunk. After hearing this story, everyone in the Straw Hat Adventure group was also full of emotion. The experiences and feelings of the 3 of you brothers are really touching. One went out to sea as an adventurer, one became the captain of the 2nd Division of the 4 Emperors Whitebeard Pirates, and one became the 2nd in command of the Revolutionary Army. Vivi sighed. Robin's eyes were inexplicable. Indeed, although the 3 brothers are far apart, they have a sense of déjà vu that they have the same goal. Luffy smiled and said, although we have taken different paths, we will eventually meet again and meet at the top. Yes. By the way, Luffy, Ace also gave you the life card before he left. Sabo took out Ace's life card and shook it. Well, he also gave me one before he set out again to chase Blackbeard. Luffy replied. Sabo smiled lightly. Then, let's exchange life cards. If there is something in the future and we can't contact each other for a while, we can use life cards to judge each other's safety and movements. Okay, Luffy said. Of course. Luffy, are you going back to the Revolutionary Army headquarters now? Well, the Battle of Alabasta Kingdom has benefited the Revolutionary Army a lot. Mr. Dragon has been in touch with you at any time, right? I was shocked when I heard Mr. Dragon say that you are his biological son. Your grandfather is a naval hero, your father is the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and when you were a child, I heard that you had a close relationship with the 4 Emperors Red Hair Shanks. Your family background is also shocking. We will review everything that happened in this country after we go back. What about you? Luffy scratched his head after hearing this. In fact, I didn't deliberately hide my background from my partners. Our record pointer points to Gaia Island, and our current heading is there. It is said that there is a legend of Sky Island there. Of course, we have to go to Sky Island to see it. Haha, do you also believe in the legend of Sky Island? Sabo laughed. Luffy said calmly, of course. Because Sky Island is right there. Then I wish you good luck. It's getting late now, and I should go back to the ship to continue sailing. See you again. Sabo came to the deck of the Mary and waved goodbye to Luffy. Okay, see you again. Luffy didn't try to keep him. Okay, keep moving towards Gaia Island. Luffy said goodbye to Sabo. Keep moving. Mary waved her hand. The companions also continued to do their own things. As night fell, Luffy found Vivi. Vivi, are you used to it? Yeah, no problem, Luffy, I didn't expect to really join this big family, it's like a dream. Vivi said with longing. We will experience all kinds of unimaginable battles in the future and encounter all kinds of strange enemies. Each of us should be cautious and cautious. After all, if the dream can come true, no one knows how powerful the enemy ahead is. Luffy said in a deep voice. You are already so powerful, but you are still so stable. Vivi widened her eyes. It's true. After all, the captain's dream is to change the world. Surpassing One Piece can only mean that a phased goal has been achieved. Our navigator, Nami, walked in. I see, I will work hard. Vivi clenched her fists. Luffy smiled mysteriously. Vivi, don't be so nervous. Although sometimes hard work can't catch up with geniuses, plugins can. Plugins. Luffy's mouth corners raised. Have you forgotten that you refused me to speed up your training before? You should also realize that your current strength is the bottom of the Straw Hat Adventure group. If you want to catch up with everyone, hard work alone is not enough. Although you eat natural system does not mean invincibility. Haki is still the power that determines the outcome of this sea. Vivi exclaimed. I also helped your father Cobra speed up the training of Haki, after all, he gained power too late. Luffy affirmed. That's right, Cobra also accelerated the training speed of the two-color Haki by 100 times for 1 year, and let him develop the sand fruit by himself. The king of the desert country, who has a powerful natural fruit and super two-color hockey in the future, can be assassinated like in the original book. It's too outrageous. Okay, I'm willing to accept your help, Luffy. I want to catch up with everyone, Vivi said solemnly. It's so lively. What are you talking about? Captain Luffy, let me show you this. At this time, Robin, who didn't like the lively, came in, with a stream of petals lingering on her palm. Luffy's eyes lit up. Have you mastered it yet, Robin? Robin shook her head. Now I have only mastered it in the beginning, but the attached domineering power is quite powerful. I can only wait for the flower fruit to fully awaken in the near future, and my Senbon Kujian's flower fruit will be changed. The most powerful version of Manjiki Senbon Sakura can be exerted. This all-pervasive and almost unavoidable skill is really shocking. Once you master it, I feel that even the admirals of the natural system will suffer a great loss. Quote. Luffy smiled when he heard it. That's really exciting. Now I'm helping Vivi to speed up her domineering training. Only when the foundation is solid can she become the mainstay in the future. Robin licked her lips. Now I see your magical ability again, Captain, and I still find it incredible. This is a completely cheating ability. Imagine a strong man who has practiced diligently for 100 years, and our people can catch up in 1 year. Those old generation strong men will be speechless. Quote. Haha, that's not it. I also have to continue planning the navigation chart. Bye. Nami left the room. Ding, the host uses 1000 transformation points to accelerate the double-color domineering training of Nefertari Vivi, and now there are 8000 transformation points left. The current panel strength of the two women is: Name, Nefertari Vivi. Observation Haki. Awakened initial 3%. Armament Haki. Not awakened. Physical skills. Iron block. Not yet started. Shave. 2% started. Paper drawing. 5% started. Moon step. 6% started. Storm kick. Not yet started. Finger gun. Not yet started. Flash step. 4% started. Collapse punch. Not yet started. Devil fruit. Natural system snow fruit awakening progress. 9%. Name. Nico Robin. Observation Haki. Awakened beginning to learn 29%. Armament Haki. Awakened beginning to learn 28%. Physical skills. Iron block. 8% beginner. Shave. 18% beginner. Paper drawing. 14% beginner. Moon step. 20% beginner. Storm kick. 11% beginner. Finger gun. 20% beginner. Flash step. 24% beginner. Collapse fist. 6% beginner. Devil fruit. Parahuman type special flower fruit awakening progress. 89%. The highest power center of the world government, Holy Land Marihoa, where the 5 elders are located, Pengu City. One of the 5 elders, Saint Shepherd 10 Peter, asked the other 5 elders with a gloomy face. Now, Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, has fallen off. The balance of the world cannot be broken. What do you think? One of the 5 elders, Saint Jekaluja Satan, said helplessly. I didn't expect that Crocodile, that waste, would be crushed. This happened under the witness of the live broadcast of the whole world. One of the 5 elders, Saint Toruman Wukiri, said calmly. It doesn't matter. It's just a crocodile that fell off. It won't affect much. Someone has to take the seat of the 7 warlords of the sea. Besides, isn't there a ready-made Straw Hat Adventure group right now? One of the 5 elders, Essenburn v. Kajiro, examined the information of the Straw Hat Adventure group, shook the knife in his hand, and said. It's the family of that Garp again. Is it feasible to recruit them? One of the 5 elders, Max Moshe, stroked his long beard and affirmed. In any case, now, the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure group, this kid named Monkey D. Luffy, is the most suitable to be recruited into the 7 warlords of the sea to balance the world. Let's notify the Navy to invite first. Okay. The other 5 elders had no objection. Navy headquarters, Marineford. Marine Marshal Sengoku sat in the main seat, and the 7 warlords of the sea sat on both sides. Hawkeye, Jorakal Mahawk, Tianyasha, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Moonlight Moria, Tyrant Bartholomew Bear. He. In my opinion, no one will come if we wait any longer. Let's start the meeting. Doflamingo didn't give Sengoku any face. It's so quiet, I almost thought I came to the wrong place. Hawkeye raised his eyebrows. Jihei, let's start quickly. Sengoku, I'm tired of waiting. Moria smiled sinisterly. Bear remained silent. Sengoku spread his hands and said, "Today, I have called you all together to discuss the position of the 7 warlords of the sea to replace King Crocodile. The world government has already ordered that the position of the 7 warlords of the sea cannot be easily vacant. Isn't this all decided by you? Our opinions don't count," Doflamingo said disdainfully. Sengoku said in a deep voice, "Our navy means to nominate the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group, Monkey D. Luffy is the new Shichibukai." Doflamingo frowned, not knowing what he was thinking. Moria reacted quite strongly. What a joke. How could we accept a little kid to be on equal footing with us? Hawkeye reminded. Crocodile doesn't even have the ability to resist in front of the little kid you mentioned. The resolution to nominate him as the King's Shichibukai has been passed in the Navy, and Luffy's grandfather Garp did not object. Sengoku declared, he's actually a 3rd-generation ancestor. Since it's already been decided, there's no need for us to stay." Doflamingo turned and left. Seeing this, the other Shichibukai also left. Early in the morning of that day, the Golden Mary was sailing on the sea. Luffy's Den Den Mushi suddenly received a call. "Moshi, I'm Admiral Sengoku." A full-throated voice came from the Den Den Mushi. "Admiral," Nami exclaimed. Luffy made a gesture to his companions around him to keep quiet, and continued. "Admiral Sengoku, what can I do for you? On behalf of the Navy, I now invite you to become the new Shichibukai." "Really? What's the reason?" Luffy didn't buy it. "Aren't you guys the Straw Hat Adventurers, who claim to be righteous companions? Become the 7 warlords of the sea, and you can plunder pirates as you please. You can also handle things that the Navy cannot reach. Your grandfather Garp has no objection." Luffy pondered for a moment and continued. "Not enough, Marshal Sengoku. We don't need the privilege of the 7 warlords of the sea to plunder." Sengoku was a little surprised. "You killed Crocodile, the former 7 warlords of the sea, and you preached justice. Isn't this exactly what you need?" Luffy replied, "Marshal Sengoku, you still don't realize what kind of organization we are, and how much benefit we can bring to you." Sengoku was a little angry. "What is your purpose, Monkey D. Luffy?" Luffy did not answer Sengoku directly, but said, "Marshal Sengoku, I can accept that you treat the Straw Hat Adventurers as white gloves, but we must also have corresponding privileges." Sengoku suddenly became dry-mouthed. "What else do you want?" "First, the Straw Hat Adventure Group can help the Navy to eliminate the vicious pirates, but the Navy needs to provide a certain deposit in advance. Second, the Straw Hat Adventure Group will need a pass to enter the Impel Down City in the future, and the number of people entering will not exceed 10. Marshal Sengoku was suddenly a little angry. "I can agree to your first request, but the second one is out of the question. Impel Down City is so important, how can we allow outsiders to enter?" Luffy smiled contemptuously. "Marshal Sengoku, don't rush to refuse. When entering Impel Down City, we can enter with the combat power of the admiral level of the Navy. Isn't it just right for Grandpa Garp? From his position, he will never allow us to cause trouble in Impel Down City. At the same time, in exchange, we unconditionally help Impel Down City suppress a pirate riot. As far as I know, Impel Down City is not impregnable, right? Secondly, we can help the Navy contain the 4 emperors, Kaido of the Beasts or Big Mom, any one of them." Zangguo roared. "Suppress the riot in Impel Down. And contain a 4 emperor. Who do you think you are? You can do all this. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't talk nonsense, kid. Of course I know it's unrealistic in your eyes now, but you will soon begin to realize that this is not an empty talk. Before you agree to these 2 conditions, no discussion." Luffy said it decisively and hung up the phone, regardless of how angry the other end was. "Old Garp, listen to what your grandson said. Ha, calm down. This is not a big deal." Garp was pouring senbei into his mouth, but was snatched away by Zangguo. "My senbei. No more. 2 old naughty boys." On the Golden Mary, the companions looked at Luffy with complicated expressions. Did they just reject the invitation of the Admiral of the Navy? Hoo, let's continue to the next stop, don't worry about these. We'll talk about it later. Luffy quickly adjusted his mentality, and everyone didn't say much. Adventure and happiness are the most important things. Chapter 71. The sky was clear and the breeze was gentle. The Golden Mary was sailing on the sea, heading for the next stop, Gaia Island. After temporarily rejecting the invitation to become the 7 warlords of the sea, the Straw Hat adventurers each started their own training. The Straw Hat adventurers occasionally engaged in some daily arguments, and sailing on the endless sea would be more or less boring. Usopp prepared his ammunition depot and came to Mary for sea fishing. The long period of no harvest made him a little depressed. How long will it take to reach Gaia Island? Mary comforted. Don't worry, according to Nami's sailing route, meteorological disasters on the Grand Line will not be a problem, we will reach our destination soon. Now, Luffy is wearing seastone shackles to train hockey, Zoro is meditating, Sanji is cleaning the ingredients, Akin is practicing boxing, Nami is outlining the map, Robin and Vivi are reading together, Chopper is making medicine, but no one is free. Suddenly, the Den Den Mushi in the captain's room received an intermittent signal. This is Tina, nearby, Navy, request, support. Chopper, who was closest to the captain's room, was the first to detect the signal. Everyone, come quickly, it seems that someone is asking for help. Luffy came over after hearing the sound, listened carefully to the noisy signal, and frowned. It was Tina who sent the signal to the sea. Navy Captain Tina, what happened? Navy Captain Tina, superhuman system Kanken fruit ability user, Kanran, after her arm passes through the body of others, it will leave iron bars to imprison them. In addition, she is good at using the group battle, black gun formation, in naval battles, using iron bars as spears to sink enemy ships. Let's go to the sea area where the signal comes from to see the situation. Luffy said decisively. About 10 nautical miles away from the Golden Mary, there is an island full of reefs. This small island is basically composed of rocks, but a fortress-like building is built on it. At this time, several ships flying pirate flags anchored in the bay near the island were firing at each other with naval ships, but there were only 5 naval ships, which were obviously at a disadvantage. A huge naval steamship was watching from the sidelines. However, there was a red cross on the naval flag on the steamship. In the center of the island, several waves of people were confronting each other. A big man in a naval uniform with a face full of flesh grinned. Ha 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 ha, Navy Colonel Tina, you underestimated me too much. You will be buried here today. Such a beauty, let me enjoy it before killing you. The embarrassed Tina glared. Tina, what a humiliation. Tina, never admit defeat. Gaspardi, the stain of the Navy, must arrest you today. Go, Needs, kill this woman's adjutant to add to the fun of the upcoming killing feast. The naval rebel named Gaspardi grinned. Tina, can't hold on any longer. Why hasn't the Navy's support arrived yet? The headquarters has seriously underestimated Gaspard. Tina gritted her teeth and held on. Ha 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 ha, woman, you are too weak. I am a jelly man of the gummy fruit, your Kanken fruit can't hurt me. Gaspard shouted, and the Navy under Tina was also retreating step by step. Instantly, a gunshot came from a distance, and Needs, who was grinning and attacking Tina's adjutant, had a bloody hole on his forehead and fell straight down. Fatal shot. Usopp's sniper arrived, and he heard the sound before he saw the person. Who are you? How dare you meddle in the Navy's business? Gaspard was shocked and angry, and didn't even realize where the enemy came from, and his capable subordinate fell down. The Mary slowly sailed into the port. Luffy sat on the bow of the Mary, and a voice came slowly. Gaspardi, a user with the ability of gummy fruit, stole the warship of the headquarters Navy and defected overseas. He participated in the annual death competition held in Hannibal as the top seed player. Originally a Navy of the headquarters, he stole the warship of the team and defected overseas. Later, when looting other ports, he found the rare steamship, Saruman Snake, which was used as a pirate ship. The flag as the Navy symbol with a big cross drawn on it. He is a despicable man known as the biggest stain of the Navy. In the annual death competition held in Hannibal, he is the most popular king who attracts everyone's attention. Luffy did not expect that he would meet the Navy traitor in the movie here, and because of the butterfly effect, the Navy Colonel Tina went out to pursue Gaspardi, and the Straw Hat Pirates received Tina's distress signal by mistake. The group of people who were fighting the pirates and the Navy fell silent, and stopped their actions in shock, not understanding where this uninvited guest came from and insulted the Navy, points like the back of the hand. Gaspard pointed his weapon at Luffy who was speaking, and asked angrily. Who are you? How dare you do such a thing? Luffy didn't even look at Gaspard, and turned to Tina and asked. Captain Tina, it was you who sent the distress signal. Is Gaspard your target for this mission? What is the requirement of the Navy headquarters? It's you, the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group who is now in its heyday. The one who killed Crocodile, the former 7 warlords of the sea, in public. Tina was very shocked, and didn't understand why this man suddenly appeared and intervened in her mission. You. The Navy headquarters has already passed the proposal to nominate you as a 7 warlords of the sea, why are you still? Tina was shocked. Luffy chuckled and said, oh, the talks with Sengoku broke down and temporarily rejected it. What? Tina, so surprised. Tina was a little dry-mouthed. Okay, let's put the matter of the 7 warlords aside for now. You look like you're in trouble. Luffy looked around and gave Zoro a look. Zoro immediately exuded his domineering aura and accurately stunned all the pirates who started to make noises. Okay, now that the annoying flies are gone, it's time to get down to business. Luffy clapped his hands, regardless of how the dumbfounded Tina reacted. Gaspard was also half kneeling on the ground in fear, sweating profusely. Before the captain made a move, he had already judged that this group of people must not be enemies with them. Wait. The mission requirement of the Navy headquarters is that Gaspard must take him back for trial regardless of whether he is dead or alive. Tina looked at Luffy walking towards Gaspard, anxiously said. Luffy turned around and smiled. Is that so? We, the Straw Hat Adventurers, helped your Navy to arrest Gaspard. Is it okay to report it like this? Tina said sincerely. Of course. Thank you for your help. Luffy was domineering and kicked Gaspard to pieces. This Navy stain is left to you to deal with. By the way, there should be a young man named Shell Lion nearby who has been seeking revenge on Gaspard. His sister was tied to Gaspard's ship. The 2 siblings have been separated for 8 years, and their case is also left to you to solve. Yes, Tina, I'm very happy that I can save more people. Tina bowed to Luffy. Soft candy fruit, not a very powerful devil fruit, just give the Navy a face. If you leave it alone and let the Navy here be wiped out, this is not a good thing. Luffy and Tina explained this and that again, and saw that the support of the Navy in the distance had arrived. Then, Luffy took the Straw Hat Adventure Group away and left without a word. The Golden Mary had been sailing for a day and a night. In the early morning of this day, the Straw Hat Adventure Group passed by a small island. However, this island is a bit strange. It looks like a small country was established not long ago. The intact buildings on the island are very new. However, the island is now full of smoke and dust, as if it has just experienced a war. It seems that a war has just happened on this island. Should we go up to see the situation? Luffy sat on the bow and frowned. The atmosphere of war was still heavy. There were ruins everywhere. What happened to the small country here? Sanji walked out of the cabin, turned on his observation color to observe the island, and then he glimpsed the flag hanging on the tallest castle on the island. He took a puff of cigarette silently, and his eyes were full of haze. The flag of Germa 66, it seems to be that group of fools. Sanji's face was overcast, and his expression could not be seen, but anyone could see that Sanji was trying his best to suppress his emotions. Don't worry about it, get ready to go to the island, no need to carry such a heavy burden. Luffy flashed to Sanji's side and patted his shoulder. Sanji was silent. After so many years, maybe there will be an end. At this time, Zoro came over and put his arm around Sanji's shoulder, sneering. Cook, you are so scared that you can't walk when you encounter the shadow of your childhood. You have been on the ship for so long, don't you know everyone's strength? Do you think a mere Germa 66 can threaten us? Sanji came back to his senses and said angrily. Go to you, green algae head. Do you think I'm afraid of these scum, huh? Sanji was burning with anger, but it immediately went out. After a moment of silence, he said. You should know that my name is not just Sanji. I know, the captain said before. Usopp said disapprovingly. Vinsmoke Sanji, this is my full name. I was born in the war family of Germa 66. Sanji told the story. Everyone put away their joking thoughts and listened to Sanji's story quietly. In the year 1501 of the Sea Circle calendar, Vinsmoke Judge, the leader of Germa 66, the war expert that the world fears, discovered the secret of the bloodline factor together with his former colleague Vegapunk. Let me digress. Vinsmoke Judge, the leader of Germa 66, is my biological father, but my only father is Zeph. I also came back from hell, which is why I resisted awakening the bloodline factor before. I was worried that I would be like the other people in Germa 66, erasing my humanity and using the dirty blood provided by that scumbag judge. Huh, Chopper exclaimed. Sanji paused, took a puff of cigarette and continued. In order to realize the hegemony of the Vinsmoke family, Judge used this technology of transforming the life blueprint on his unborn children, trying to give them the most powerful power. Although my mother, Judge's wife Sora, drank a strong drug that could affect the bloodline factor, the super soldier that Judge hoped for was still born. The 4 brothers born on the same day were numbered and named. I am Sanji, the 3rd son of the family. The homophony of the name is the origin. The 4 brothers plus my sister Reiju began to undergo various scientific experiments in Germa 66, and gradually showed amazing physical fitness. Only me, still like an ordinary child, did not show any extraordinary abilities. When I was a child, the gap between my strength and others became larger and larger, and I was often easily defeated in battles. Because I was too weak, I became the target of bullying by other brothers. Not only that, I also retained I have learned something that Judge had not expected, rich, human emotions. I am too kind and too passionate about cooking. I am completely different from those cold and ruthless brothers, and I am incompatible with Germa 66. While others were honing their fighting skills, I studied cooking. When I was a child, I braved the storm, broke through the vicious dogs, and came to a corner of the Germa 66 kingdom, the residence where my mother Sora was recuperating. When I was a child, I personally delivered the food I made. Although it had a terrible smell, my mother still ate it happily and said from the bottom of her heart that it was delicious. My mother hopes that I can continue to cook for her. Quote. At this point, Sanji sat on the ground and gritted his teeth and continued. My mother used infinite tenderness to protect my young dreams when I was a child. However, all these actions of mine were unnecessary in Judge's eyes. Judge originally thought that I just needed some time to grow up, but he never thought that even the scientists involved in the experiment had to admit that I just an ordinary human, an absolute failure of Germa. Judge couldn't tolerate me with zero potential. My existence was meaningless to him. He forced me to wear an iron mask, and then cruelly threw me into a dark dungeon. Judge announced to the outside world that Sanji was dead. No matter how helpless I cried, Judge was indifferent. This imprisonment lasted for 6 months. During this long period of time, what kept me alive was the encouragement from my mother Sora, who had passed away suddenly. Quote. I didn't even see my mother for the last time. Sanji laughed at himself, and then continued to narrate. During that time, I asked the guards for recipes and kitchen utensils, and continued to study cooking in the dungeon. I also learned about the existence of all blue from a book for the first time. However, at this time, the ambition of Germa 66 was rapidly expanding, preparing to cross the Red Earth continent and attack the kingdom of Korkia in the East China Sea. My so-called brothers also found me in the dungeon and bullied me again. My sister Reiju felt sorry for me and bandaged my wounds. I finally made up my mind to leave this home that I hated. I expressed to Reiju that I wanted to escape to the East China Sea to pursue my wish to become a chef. This strong desire infected Reiju, and she broke the dungeon and opened a door for her brother to escape. I took the opportunity and slipped into Judge's room, ready to take the key to open the iron mask on my head, but was discovered by Judge. However, Judge did not intend to stop my escape, nor did he try to keep me. Instead, he said something meaningful. Judge was full of doubts about whether I could survive on the sea, but under my insistence, Judge finally made a request. That is, after I leave this home, I am not allowed to mention who my father is to outsiders. As a child, I cried and agreed, and Judge and I said goodbye, and also parted ways with Germa 66. Finally, with the blessing of my sister Reiju, I got rid of the nightmare home, boarded the passenger ship Orbit in the East China Sea, and started a new life. Quote. Sanji took a deep breath. After this, it is the story of my stay with red-footed Zeph that you all know. Everyone fell into a dead silence. Luffy looked around and said coldly. What do you think? I think Germa 66 is a member of the world government and cannot be destroyed directly. But we can't tolerate their evil deeds. The Straw Hat Adventure Group rubbed their hands. Everything depends on the captain's orders. When Sanji finished telling his story, Robin was filled with mixed feelings. Robin's heart was in turmoil. Captain Luffy was right. Everyone in this world is working hard. It's not easy for ordinary people. She is already lucky. Others are also suffering. So many people who have gone through hardships are living with firm beliefs. Why should she seek death? After the emotions of the Straw Hat adventurers calmed down, a black cannonball suddenly flew over and directly entered the range of Luffy's observation haki. Luffy's face turned cold, looking for death. Raising his hand, an armed haki was released to intercept the cannonball. It seems that this island and Germa 66 do not welcome us. Be alert. Luffy and his party anchored the Golden Mary at the port, took Mary, and boarded the island under Chopper's eyes. Luffy and his party gradually walked to the center of the town in this country, and found that there were still indigenous people fiercely resisting the aggressive war of Germa 66. However, these soldiers who looked like they were dressed as the royal guards were obviously no match for Germa 66. The whole island was still filled with smoke, and it was only a matter of time before it completely fell. A soldier wearing combat uniform and carrying Germa 66's high-tech weapons also discovered the intruders of the Straw Hat Pirates at this time, and immediately responded by grabbing the communicator and shouting. Report. Unknown personnel have broken in ahead. Do you want to issue an attack permit? Luffy chuckled and said, it seems that there is no way to settle it peacefully. I didn't intend to resolve it peacefully in the first place. First warning. Please leave immediately if you are not related to us. Otherwise, you will be considered an enemy and will be eliminated immediately. This is the Media Kingdom guards fighting the Germa 66 army. Luffy and his party naturally couldn't leave. Even if they were surrounded by water, they were still calm. No response received. Attack immediately. Countless shells whistled towards the Straw Hat adventurers. Vivi, Luffy whispered. Snow ring. Vivi shouted, and the huge snow immediately formed a flowing ring and spun and dispersed, blocking all attacks. Don't worry about the army of Germa 66, just freeze the kingdom's guards and don't hurt their lives. Luffy spoke again. To be honest, the control of the snow fruit is really useful. The cold wave is coming. Vivi spread her hands, and the snow and wind whistled, turning the surrounding scenery into a white snow world. The Straw Hat Pirates were not affected at all, but all the others were frozen into ice sculptures. Wow, this is the evil army that dominates the North Sea. These soldiers seem to have no emotions. Robin came to the ice sculpture with great interest and observed. Uniform combat uniforms, uniform high-tech standard weapons, these people look exactly the same, are they clones? Yes, these soldiers are clones made in petri dishes. Sanji spoke faintly. Luffy said, let's wait here for the real boss to come. After that, Luffy unfolded his observation haki to cover the entire island. In the perception of observation haki, the army of Germa 66 is all single color, which is completely different from the colorful others. After all, the army of Germa 66 is all clones. In this way, there is no need to worry about hurting innocent people. Luffy said coldly. Whether it is in the original work or witnessed with his own eyes, the war weapon of Germa 66 is not pleasing. Luffy immediately released the terrifying Conqueror haki, suppressing the spirits of all the clone soldiers on the island and making them all lose their ability to move. A huge snail-shaped ship near the island. What happened? The soldiers sent out lost contact in an instant. What was that momentum just now? What on earth happened on this island? Yongji, Ig, Niji, Reiju, take your weapons immediately and follow me to see what happened. A drop of cold sweat fell from Judge's forehead. This has never happened before. Even if the clone soldiers are worthless, all the soldiers sent out to fight lost contact in a short period of time. Something terrible must have happened. We must find out immediately. Yes, father, Reiju replied expressionlessly. The three brothers had no feelings and did not reply. They packed up and set off. Luffy and his party found the king of the Kingdom of Media who was still resisting, explained the situation, cleaned up the mess, and without waiting for the king's reply and thanks, they came to the largest port and waited for the arrival of Germa 66. Not long after, a huge black shadow on the sea slowly approached and appeared within the perception range of the observation hockey. Okay, the real owner has appeared. Let's fight quickly. Luffy stood up and clapped his hands. Sanji was tense and came to the front. 4 figures landed on the shore, all wearing Germa 66's high-tech memory combat suits. It's you. You dare to come back. Judge, the leader, said angrily. Judge, IG, Niji, Yongji, and Sanji's sister Reiju were all here, so there's no need to bother anymore. Luffy smiled, with a light curve at the corner of his mouth. Not only did he smile lightly, but his eyes seemed to be wrapped in knives, and his tone was even more unfriendly. Oh, are you the Straw Hat Adventure group that has been in the limelight recently? Did you actually accept Sanji's failed work? Ha ha. Yongji said contemptuously. Do you think you dare to challenge us just because you killed Crocodile? It's just a child's trick. Judge said coldly. At this time, Yongji glanced at the 3 women, and his eyes turned into hearts. Oh, there are beauties. Reiju knocked her head directly. Shut up. Yongji, Sanji, is that you? Why did you come back? Sanji took a puff of cigarette. I'll make a break. HMPH, did you defeat Crocodile? That's still useful. Hey, you guys, leave Sanji, and then you can get out. IG said in a commanding tone. I'm very unhappy. Very unhappy. Can I do it? Cute Meili clenched her fist. Whatever you want. Sanji spoke. A mascot, don't laugh your teeth off. Judge rushed with a gun. Scum, watch out. Break the ice with a heavy punch. Meili punched angrily, and before Judge realized it, a huge force came suddenly, smashing him and his gun into the ground. 3/4 of the ground, a deep pit was smashed, and it couldn't be pulled out. What happened? Reiju exclaimed. Luffy curled his lips. He didn't die. It seems that the technology of Germa 66 is really good, and the physique of the people in the world of One Piece is really strong. You know, Mary's punch now is equivalent to the power of an icebreaker in the previous life. It's really good to be alive when fighting with a giant ship. In the distance, the Golden Mary began to transform under Mary's control. What the hell is this? The soldiers of Germa 66 exclaimed. The hull of the Mary transformed into a huge steel fist, which punched a hole in the main ship of Germa 66, and the main ship of Germa 66 immediately fell to the ground. How could this happen? How is this possible? Although Reiju knew that the Straw Hat adventurers who fought against the former Shichibukai Sand Crocodile in the desert would definitely not be weak and would never be simple, she did not expect that her father, who was also the king of Germa 66, would be defeated so easily. Reiju immediately felt like she was facing a great enemy, and her whole body was glowing with purple light, ready to fight. Luffy and his crew did not want to fight this person. After all, based on Sanji's narration and their contact with this group of people, they had judged that this person was the only sister that Sanji recognized, and the only person in Germa 66 who had affection for Sanji. Of course, Reiju might also be the only one among the 5 siblings who still had human feelings and emotions besides Sanji. Sanji said with a complicated expression. Reiju, sister, stop, do you want to be my enemy? Reiju, who was about to launch an attack, was in a complicated mood, stunned on the spot, and said with a trembling voice. Sanji, it's really you. You are really alive. Yes, I'm still alive. It's great to meet again. Sister. Sanji scratched his hair, a little at a loss. Yes, it's great to meet again. But I'm still a warrior of Germa 66. Reiju sobbed, and seemed unable to control herself. Nami stepped forward. Stop, Reiju, you are Sanji's sister, aren't you? It has nothing to do with position, only family affection. Besides, if we start fighting now, I can only force you to lose your ability to move. You are not my opponent. Nami's weather stick was surrounded by lightning, and the dark-armed color domineering was wrapped around it. Such a strong armament hockey. Reiju looked at the little girl in shock, and then said bitterly. It seems that I am really worrying too much. Never mind, I am your prisoner now. You win. However, the 3 brothers IG, Niji, and Yongji have no emotions. They only have the instinct to fight. Although they are facing a great enemy, they are fearless. Bold. The 3 shouted loudly, and then activated their combat suits and attacked Sanji, who was most familiar with him. You have always been unreasonable. It is impossible to communicate. Sanji shouted angrily, and the blue flames ignited all over his body, and it seemed that a kingly cry sounded. Suzaku Flame Demon Wind Leg Spectrum. Sanji's kicking skills attacked heavily, and it was even more entangled with a strong armament haki, and it rose to the sky with a raging fire spiral, knocking the 3 people who were approaching rapidly away, and plowing 3 charred gullies on the ground. With just one blow, the 3 could no longer fly, and their combat uniforms crackled, as if they were overloaded. In the distance, the clone soldiers of Germa 66 were fearless and launched a crazy human wave charge. The clones had almost no emotions and no pain, and would attack the enemy tirelessly until they were completely crushed. Charge them. Take back Commander Judge. The commander gave the order to charge through the loudspeaker Den Den Mushi, and for a moment, tens of thousands of clone soldiers picked up their weapons and charged ashore. They are worthy of being the war experts who dominate the North Sea and show off their power on the Grand Line. Even when they saw the commander being knocked down, they were still fearless. Your courage is commendable. Is this how you do things in Germa 66? Luffy looked down at Judge, who had struggled to get up from the deep pit, with a cold tone. To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to ourselves. Let's announce our determination to Germa 66. Luffy ordered calmly. Nami raised the weather stick, thunderclouds rolled in the sky, and a thunderstorm suddenly formed. Zoro pulled out the 3rd-generation Kidetsu and swung out a huge sword energy. Usopp took out a huge slingshot and threw a green bomb. Vivi summoned a snowstorm and swept towards the enemy on one side. Robin crossed her hands, and countless petals spun and flew, rushing towards the nearest soldier formation. The partners with long-range attack capabilities launched the attack at the first time. Thunderstorm Weather Lightning Dance. One sword style breaking the army. Special Kill Green Star Crazy Plant. Avalanche. Menka Senbon Sakura. All kinds of gorgeous moves were released towards the crowd of clone soldiers. Thousands of lightning bolts charred countless soldiers. The sword energy made the clone soldiers fall down like wheat being cut. The green star exploded, and countless plants emerged wherever it passed, throwing and piercing the clone soldiers. The avalanche buried countless soldiers. The 1,000 cherry blossoms swept the army like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. After just one battle, the clone soldiers were reduced exponentially and the army was defeated. So many plants, worthy of being the great god Usopp. I'll help too. Mary's eyes were full of stars, and she controlled the transformed Mary to dock, and waved her little hand. Mary Ho Yan Cannon. The huge fireball hit Mary. The bow of the ship gathered and sprayed towards the place where the crazy plants were surging. With a loud bang, a mushroom flew into the air. With the forest and the raging fire, the army of Germa 66 was in mourning on the battlefield. This unruly war has been decided at this moment. Reiju looked at this scene for a long time and couldn't come back to her senses. She was dumbfounded and walked towards Sanji in silence. Sanji, this is the memory combat suit of Germa 66. This originally belongs to you. Sanji silently stepped on the black can and exploded it. Sister, I don't need this. Relying on such things will only make you a weakling. After saying this, Sanji walked towards Ig, Niji, and Youngji who were lying on the ground. For the sake of blood relationship, I will spare your lives for the time being. But the death penalty can be exempted, but the living crime cannot be escaped. Pay the price for everything you have done to me. Sanji finished his words, and his right foot ignited a raging fire, which destroyed all 3 people and even stomped on the combat suits of the 3 people. Judge climbed out of the deep pit with difficulty and a wooden face. At this point in the battle, Germa 66 was finished. Luffy glanced at Judge coldly. Judge, the Straw Hat Adventure Group can't bear to see the countries being poisoned by Germa 66. Sanji has cut off the past and now has eliminated 70% of the combat power of Germa 66. Take care of yourself. Sanji stepped forward and grabbed Judge's collar. From this moment on, Vinsmoke Sanji has nothing to do with Germa 66. The grudges between you and me are over. Sanji's domineering aura was released crazily, his mind was clear, and he was invincible. Ha, domineering color. You have awakened the bloodline factor. Judge was shocked and angry, spitting blood and speaking. But Sanji threw Judge away as if he were trash after he finished speaking. It had nothing to do with him. Judge never treated his relatives as relatives. Even so, he was cowardly and opportunistic, and he would not think he was wrong. Sanji leapt into the air, gathering all his strength, and attacked the main ship of Germa 66 in the distance. Demon God Wind Leg Suzaku Sacred Fire Suzaku Seal. He kicked through the main ship of Germa 66, and Judge's research on bloodline factors and his crimes were also burned. Germa 66 was destroyed to this point, with more than 70% of its combat power completely destroyed, and the forces hostile to them would not let them go. After the war with Germa 66, Judge dragged his seriously injured body and fled back in a miserable state with the disabled IG, Niji and Yuji. Luffy and his crew didn't want to communicate with them too much. What's the point of dealing with scum who didn't treat their relatives as human beings? Although in the original work, Germa 66 experienced the siege on Cake Island and changed their opinion of Sanji, who they believed was a failure, the arrogance, prejudice and indifference engraved in their bones never dissipated. Not completely destroying them now is Sanji's last mercy for his blood relatives, and he has done his best. Reiju, why don't you leave with them? Luffy saw Reiju standing there and asked. I am already your prisoner, and you can do whatever you want. Reiju's tone was calm, as if it had nothing to do with her. Sanji had finished, and came closer, untied Reiju and said. Sister Reiju is probably the only one among the 5 siblings who still has human emotions. Reiju is also different from those 3 scumbags IG, Yuji, and Niji. Without her, I couldn't escape when I was a child. Reiju sighed softly. Sanji, don't beg for me. I am already very satisfied to see that you are still alive and so powerful. After all, I am also an accomplice to the tiger. Don't worry, Sanji, the war is over, and we don't plan to do anything to her. You decide on Reiju's arrangements. Luffy patted Sanji on the shoulder, smiled, and then asked Reiju. We destroyed your blood relatives, don't you hate us? Hearing this, Reiju said calmly. It's not about hatred. You saved Sanji, and I even want to thank you. Judge and the others are not my relatives, and they have never treated me as a human being. To them, I am just a tool that can be used. If I have no value, they can naturally abandon me like they abandoned Sanji. They are just a bunch of scum. I thought you would kill them directly, which would be more convenient. The Reiju in front of him did not change her expression at all, and her emotional fluctuations were very small. Only when facing her younger brother Sanji did she show her gentle side. Reiju threw the headphones heavily to the ground and continued. From the moment IG, Niji, and Yuji were born, they were already dead. What is still alive is only a strong shell. Mother Sora could never bear to see her children become like this. She cried all day and finally died of depression. In fact, it was okay at the beginning. There was Sanji as a child to comfort his mother, but later, you know it. Luffy made the final decision. Now, Germa 66 is dead in name only. It will never be able to make a comeback in 100 years, and the forces hostile to it will soon add insult to injury. Reiju, there is no need for you to go back. It is up to you to decide whether to stay or go. Reiju widened her eyes in shock. You, let me go. Luffy chuckled. Of course, you are Sanji's only sister. You are alive and well, which is the greatest encouragement to Sanji. But, where can I go? If I leave Germa 66, there is no place for a cyborg like me in the world. Reiju looked at Sanji with empty eyes, and suddenly a light ignited in her eyes, and asked tentatively. Sanji looks very happy with you, can you take me in? Luffy and Sanji looked at each other, then shook their heads. I'm sorry, Reiju. Our Straw Hat Adventure Group has no intention of adding new companions for the time being. Is that so? Reiju's eyes dimmed. Luffy continued. But we can also recommend a place for you. Once there, you can even live and work with Sanji in the future. Reiju hurriedly asked, where? Now, the Revolutionary Army has been reborn, and they are also reforming. This is inextricably linked to us. We will definitely fight side by side with the new Revolutionary Army in the future, and they are absolutely willing to accept you to join. Revolutionary Army. You really can't be underestimated. Reiju's face was complicated. She didn't expect that she, a war weapon of Germa, could actually join the Revolutionary Army in the end. Luffy gave Reiju the contact information of the Revolutionary Army. You can contact my brother through this. He is the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army. I will tell him that I recommended you to go there. He will come to pick you up when the time comes. Reiju reached out to take it, said goodbye to Luffy and his party, boarded her ship and left. World Economic News Agency, where Morgans is. Morgans is writing furiously. Female gentlemen, now I have the honor to announce the latest news to you. This is big news. Recently, the Straw Hat Adventures, which is in the limelight and stands for justice, has done something earth-shattering again. That is, the Straw Hat Adventures fought with the war expert Germa 66, which was invading the Kingdom of Media, on the island of the Kingdom of Media. The final result was, all members of the Straw Hat Adventures, at the cost of 0 casualties, almost wiped out Germa 66. Only a very small number of Germa 66 escaped. It is reported that the Straw Hat Adventures not only helped the Kingdom of Media to resist the invasion, but also for their companions. Vinsmoke Sanji. Revenge. This is an unimaginable situation. This is a great victory for justice. The Straw Hat Adventures keep their promises. At the same time, the Navy headquarters also put on the agenda the invitation of the Straw Hat Adventure Captain, Monkey D. Luffy, to become a 7 warlords of the sea. As soon as the newspaper was issued, the forces on the sea were in an uproar again. You know, Germa 66 is a feared war organization, and its strength is no less than that of the 7 warlords of the sea. But such a huge organization that has been entrenched for many years and has a complex network of connections has fallen overnight. This has given many forces a clearer view of the Straw Hat Adventure Group. Undoubtedly, all organizations that have traded and cooperated with Germa 66 have urgently cut ties with Germa 66 to avoid getting into trouble. It also made many major forces angry about the behavior of the Straw Hat Adventure Group, believing that the Straw Hat Adventure Group's behavior has seriously harmed their interests. That's all for later. Navy Headquarters, Marineford. Sengoku pounded the table in shock and anger. What did you say? The Straw Hat Adventure Group almost wiped out Germa 66. It's absolutely true. Marshal, this news has been widely circulated. Quote. The Navy replied, this Straw Hat Adventure Group really needs to be taken seriously. On the sea, the Golden Mary has continued its journey to Gaia Island. This Morgans is really omnipresent. Sanji looked at the newspaper and said helplessly. Luffy smiled. Who cares? As long as it's good for us. After a long voyage, the Straw Hat adventurers finally arrived at the waters of Gaia Island in the early morning of that day and headed for Mogu Town. In the outer waters of Gaia Island, Chopper accidentally discovered through a telescope that 2 seagulls were shot and fell from the sky, just landing on the deck of the Mary. Everyone stepped forward to check the situation of the seagulls, and all showed a look of surprise. Incredibly, the place where the 2 seagulls were shot and fell was at least 2,000 meters away from the land. Usopp showed a solemn look, because he knew that this was definitely a very powerful sniper. With such a distance and such a crosshair, his father Jesus Bu had also done it. This is not something that is absolutely impossible, but to do it, the sniper must have strong skills and strong psychological quality. Luffy saw Usopp's expression and knew that this was the masterpiece of Van Oka, the sniper of the Blackbeard pirates. However, Luffy did not point it out. Instead, he patted Usopp on the shoulder and chuckled. Are you interested? Full power, full speed. After receiving the order from Mary, the Golden Mary immediately increased its speed to the maximum and rushed towards the Magic Valley town. Nami looked at the nautical chart in her hand and asked Luffy who was sitting on the bow. Luffy, do you think Sky Island is just a legend? This is too absurd. Although Nami followed everyone to the Magic Valley town, she still couldn't believe that there was an island that could float in the sky. This was completely against common sense. But common sense is not allowed in the world of pirates. Luffy raised his eyebrows, as if he remembered something, and pointed to the sky. Nami, if a ship falls from the sky, can it completely prove the existence of Sky Island? How can that be? Nami's voice has not yet fallen. At this moment, the Straw Hat Adventure Group witnessed an unimaginable spectacle. Under the stunned eyes of everyone, a black shadow enveloped the Mary. Chopper looked up at the sky, and a huge shipwreckage fell down. Suspecting that something was leaked, Chopper was startled. his eyes were as big as copper bells, and he jumped up and became huge. It really fell from the sky. Nami was immediately scared out of the original painting. Hurry up and take shelter. Hey, falling from the sky. At this moment, Zoro quickly pulled out the Wado Ikimonji and made a gesture to hand it over to him, and Luffy no longer cared. Then, Zoro drew his sword and slashed it upwards, and a flying sword energy slashed out like a fire burning the sky. One sword style dawn. The huge blood-red sword energy cut off the wreckage of the ship on the spot, and the shattered wreckage of the ship fell into the sea, causing a huge surge around the Mary. Vivi stepped forward and opened her hands. Snow cold frost. The amazing cold air was released with Vivi as the center, and the huge waves were immediately covered, and they were frozen into huge ice sculptures that could be seen with the naked eye. Luffy saw that it was over, and he didn't plan to do anything else. He stretched and stood up. Okay, there's no problem like this. Let's take a good look at what happened on this ship. Everyone got off the boat one by one, stepped on the solid ice surface, and the Mary was left to Mary to control. Nami exclaimed in surprise, and looked at the recording pointer in her hand pointing uncontrollably to the sky in surprise. Nami turned to Luffy helplessly and said, "Captain, it seems that you were right. The record pointer is not broken, but it is pointing to the sky uncontrollably. There is only one possibility. The record pointer is attracted and covered by the island with a stronger magnetic field." Robin became interested. So, there really is an island in the sky above our heads. So, what secrets are hidden on that island? Luffy's mouth curled up. Is that so? We will know after we do some research. Everyone immediately began to check the wreckage of the nearby ship, and they all gained a lot. Robin said solemnly, "From the perspective of the ship of this pirate ship, the wear and tear of this ship is at least 200 years. And the skeletal remains on this ship that are almost invisible can also prove that it has been washed away for at least 200 years. Chopper is naturally irrefutable in his professional field of medicine." Chopper continued, "The remains of these people's bones have different degrees of injuries, some are caused by blunt objects, some are caused by sharp objects. There are many reasons, but all of them are caused by human factors." Robin pondered for a moment, then took out a cowhide book from somewhere and started to look through it. After a while, he said, "Here, the records in this book can prove it. About 200 years ago before, the kingdom of Brisno in the South China Sea once built a huge ship named Utopia and sent people to the sea to adventure and search for treasure. The description of Utopia in this book has many similarities with the wreckage of this ship, and it is estimated to be almost the same." Quote. Agent sighed on the side. "You are really an archaeologist. You know the past history like the back of your hand, and you can judge so many things based on this wreckage." "Haha, I'm just a rough man who only knows how to fight." Quote. Robin smiled and said, "There is no need to belittle yourself, everyone has something they are good at." Robin continued, "Now that it can be confirmed that the wreckage of this ship fell from the sky, it can at least prove that this ship has indeed arrived at Sky Island. Next, we just need to find items that can prove the identity of these skeletal remains, such as navigation diaries, identity tokens, etc. In this way, we can confirm more information." Quote. After hearing this, the Straw Hat adventurers began to search through the scattered wreckage again. After a while, Usopp suddenly shouted, "I found it." Everyone gathered together after hearing the voice. After comparison, they confirmed that this was a nautical chart of Sky Island from more than 200 years ago. Everyone was amazed and began to look forward to the trip to Sky Island to confirm the existence of the fact. On the Grand Line, anything can happen. Vivi was yearning. Nami said, "On the sea, the only thing that cannot be doubted is the record pointer. The common sense in our minds may not work on the Grand Line." Sanji frowned. "There is still too little information now. With only a nautical chart, there are still too many uncertainties. We can only find a way to salvage all the wreckage of the ship." Zoro's observation haki changed, and he said calmly, "Don't bother us. Professionals are already here." Luffy rubbed his hands. "Ah, yes, the ape man with a bounty of 23 million Baileys, known as the Salvage King, has arrived." The ape man came closer and saluted. "Hello, I am the captain of the ape man pirates, Ape Man. You are the ones who discovered the wreckage here. Next, let us, the professional team, do the salvage work." Luffy stepped forward and smiled. Hello, the salvage of the wreckage is left to you. But do you know how to get to Sky Island? The ape man was shocked. What, you are going to Sky Island? The ape man was shocked. After receiving a positive response from Luffy and his party, the ape man also happily sent out the permanent pointer of Gaia Island and informed Luffy and others of the relevant clues. The folk customs of Magic Valley Town are very simple, worthy of being a town where pirates gather. The Straw Hat Adventure Group has just landed on the island and has been provoked by several waves of pirates, but they were all solved without a trace. The limited domineering color can suppress the pirates. It is the only choice for the little people. You deserve it. For these scrutinizing or provocative eyes, accompanied by bursts of whistles, Luffy and his party said that it has nothing to do with me, and they will suppress them directly if they dare to approach. Most of the pirates in Magic Valley Town are frightened by the difficulties and dangers of the Grand Line, and they are just salted fish with broken dreams. The Straw Hat Adventure Group is still disdainful to fight with them. Soon, after a few outspoken birds fell down the moment they approached, no one dared to provoke this group of people again, and they all turned their attention away and carefully avoided them. A group of cowards who bully the weak and fear the strong, just kill the chicken to scare the monkeys. In fact, under normal circumstances, the people in Magic Valley Town should have heard about the big commotion caused by the Straw Hat Adventure Group along the way, but due to the special situation of Magic Valley Town, there is no profit for news birds to come to this place where no one lives, so naturally the news is becoming more and more closed. After walking for a while on the streets of Magic Valley Town, there was a bustling crowd in front of them. With a little perception, it turned out that it was the helmsman of the Blackbeard Pirates, Barges, who was fighting with others, and the audience cheered. Luffy said concisely, Giles Barges, the champion of the Blackbeard Pirates, is extremely warlike, but he is not afraid of despicable means. There is nothing to see, let's keep going. Let's go visit someone. Yeah, everyone responded and continued to move forward without attracting attention. Magic Valley Town is not big, and soon, they met another crew member of the Blackbeard Pirates, Poison Q. The man looked dying, lying weakly on the ground, and his horse also fell to the ground weakly. Originally, according to Chopper's instinct as a doctor, he would definitely go forward to treat him. But in Chopper's perception of the color of seeing and hearing, the man was healthy and had a faint dangerous aura all over his body. Chopper also became extremely vigilant. Everyone looked at the man who was lying on the ground pretending to be weak with a basket of red apples with interest, and did not speak. Chopper warned, Who are you? Why are you pretending to be sick here? I am also a doctor, and your tricks can be seen at a glance. Chopper noticed that when he pointed out the man and said that he was also a doctor, the man's momentum was a little scattered in an instant, the murderous aura flashed away, and his expression also changed a little. But soon, the man in front of him returned to his sickly look, took out a red apple from the basket and handed it to Chopper. I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm born weak and sickly. This is for you, just to show my appreciation, not my respect. Chopper remained alert and did not take the red apple. Looking at the man's sinister smile, he felt that the man had bad intentions. Moreover, in Chopper's observation hockey perception, the red apple handed over by the man gave off a bad smell. What is this? Explosives. And malicious intent. Chopper dodged the man's hand that was trying to force the red apple, his eyes full of anger. Chopper looked up again, and the man had climbed onto the horse's back. Although his face was still pale, his eyes were full of malice. The man said sinisterly, This is a bit troublesome. Since you have been chosen, you have to accept it. Who are you? Want to fight? Chopper clenched his fists. Luffy said calmly, Blackbeard Pirates Doctor, Poison Q, Chopper, remember this guy, you will have a chance to deal with him in the future. Poison Q suddenly tensed up. He could not see through Luffy's background at all, but he was completely seen through and was locked by a trace of murderous intent. Poison Q laughed bitterly. We are all doctors. Doctors are supposed to guide others into the arms of death and die according to fate, right? People will always die. As a doctor, I give people a push so that they can embrace death better and earlier. Isn't that just right? Only doctors can guide patients on how to die according to fate, and I just need to obey the guidance of fate. Chopper was furious. It's totally unreasonable. Doctors are supposed to save the dying and the wounded as their responsibility, and save lives by practicing medicine. You have tarnished the profession of doctor. Everyone has to die. Some are heavier than Mount Tai, some are lighter than a feather, but this is not something that others can control. The doctor's responsibility is to save the world. You don't deserve it. After Chopper finished speaking, he threw a basket of poisonous or exploding red apples into the astonished eyes of Poison Q. Clear them all and be ready to take action at any time. After a long silence, Poison Q finally spoke viciously. We will meet again. Chopper's eyes were sharp. The next time we meet, it will be your death. For some reason, Chopper felt deeply that this man named Poison Q would be his mortal enemy and must not be tolerated. I'll remember you. Next time, I will have a good time with you. Look forward to it. Let's go. Zhuangzhuang. Poison Q rode on his horse and prepared to leave. What are you still hesitating about? Poison Q. A low voice came from behind. A man in a black hat and black clothes, wearing half glasses, and carrying a sniper rifle on his back. The sniper of the Blackbeard pirates, Van Oka. Usopp saw this man and immediately had an idea, and his hand had already touched the gun. You are the one who sniped Seagull before. When Van Oka saw Usopp's sniper rifle, he was as if he was facing a formidable enemy. It is really the guidance of fate. Who are you? Van Oka took off his sniper rifle, Chalu, and stared at Usopp. He could feel that the sniper in front of him was definitely not inferior to himself. A drop of cold sweat slid down, and Van Oka forced himself to calm down. Usopp, this is the sniper of the Blackbeard pirates, Van Oka, maybe he will be your nemesis. Luffy said calmly. Usopp, I will remember this fateful encounter. I will see you again in the future, maybe on the battlefield. Van Oka did not choose to take action, but turned and left with Poison Q. It's always people who pull the trigger, and it has nothing to do with fate. Van Oka, Usopp, will look forward to fighting with you. Usopp was full of fighting spirit. This fate is really wonderful. Luffy chuckled. Now is not the time to deal with the Blackbeard pirates, wait for the time, partners. There is a destiny in the dark, the battle of fate is not now, not here. Keep going. Everyone came to their senses and followed Luffy all the way to a red house. After the Straw Hat adventurers knocked on the door, no one responded. They only heard a cough and had to push the door open. A man in the red house was wrapped in bandages and was seriously injured. Chopper's eyes condensed and he immediately began to treat the man. The bandages on the man were randomly wrapped, obviously hastily bandaged. Chopper released the power of the fruit and quickly treated the man's injuries. The man looked at this group of people who came for no reason in shock, and asked tentatively. Who are you? The Straw Hat Adventure Group, we are here to find you. Luffy smiled. Looking for me? Look at me now. Before he finished speaking, the man felt his injuries healing rapidly, and his eyes widened. Usopp asked, who is he? Why are we looking for him? Luffy said word by word. He, Mont Blanc Coulicat, the descendant of the legendary Big Liar Rolando. This man is the descendant of Rolando, the Big Liar. Luffy finished speaking. Sanji was surprised and said, what, the legendary Big Liar? It is said that he made up countless lies in his life and refused to admit that he lied until his death. Sanji, who was in the East China Sea before, had also heard rumors about Rolando. Rolando is definitely not a big liar. Mont Blanc Coulicat was anxious and his face turned red. I also believe that Rolando is not the big liar, he is my idol. Usopp raised his hand and shouted. That's right, not only is that guy not a big talker, but he has also been misunderstood. Luffy smiled and turned to Nami and continued. Nami, the Golden City Shandora and Sky Island that I promised to take you to find before are closely related to big talker Rolando. When Nami heard Luffy's words, her eyes suddenly turned into the shape of Bailey, and she grabbed Luffy's hand and said excitedly. Golden City. They are all treasures. Such things actually exist. Robin licked his lips. Indeed, I have also heard the legend of Golden City Shandora, but that is not a lie of big talker Rolando, which is really surprising. Mont Blanc Coulicat was stunned on the spot. Do you believe these? Of course, Rolando may have found the wrong direction. Golden City Shandora should not have sunk to the bottom of the sea, but was washed up to Sky Island by the rising current. Luffy said affirmatively. Sky Island. That's it. I'm going to bring those two children back. Coulicat jumped up. Don't worry. We are going to Sky Island. Please provide the specific time of the rising current. You still need news. Luffy pressed it down. Kulikit said in surprise. Sky Island, you really have ideas. But my two stupid Odudo went to seek revenge on Bellamy again. Without them, I can't help you. Bellamy is a frequent visitor to the tavern. You can try your luck there. Luffy said helplessly. Okay, we will bring your two Odudo back intact for you. Remember to be prepared. After Luffy finished speaking, he took his companions out. Luffy and his party came to the tavern in Mogu Town and waited for Bellamy to arrive. Why is this drink so delicious? This cherry pie is also delicious. In the tavern, a burly man was feasting. Blackbeard, Marshal D. Teach. Seeing him, Luffy became playful. Hey, these things are not delicious. Blackbeard turned his head and said, Stinky brat, are you deliberately going against me? You are, the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group. Blackbeard has been out at sea for many years, and naturally knows that he can't afford to offend the group of people in front of him who fought against the 7 warlords of the sea and crushed Germa 66. Thief, ha ha ha. Misunderstanding. It's all misunderstanding. Blackbeard admitted decisively. Blackbeard never fights a battle that he is not sure of. Boss. Next to him, Devil Sheriff Lafitte whispered a reminder. Blackbeard quickly led his men out of the tavern and did not conflict with the Straw Hat Adventure Group. Luffy and others did not stop him. Now, it's not the time. When the time is right, the Blackbeard pirates will be wiped out with thunder. Soon, a sturdy figure swaggered into the tavern. Bellamy arrived. The tavern seemed to have been paused. The noisy drinkers were all silent. Only Luffy and his friends were still talking and drinking, which was out of place. Bellamy narrowed his eyes and said provocatively, You are the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group who fought against the 7 warlords of the sea, crushed Germa 66, and declared his justice. How much do you weigh? Get out of this tavern. I, Bellamy, will take care of this place for a few days. Bellamy's men laughed, and Bellamy showed a ferocious expression. Luffy and his group chose to ignore it, and Bellamy asked for a bottle of the most expensive wine at the bar. Boss, a glass of orange juice, thank you. Nami took out Bailey and handed it to the boss. The boss did not expect that the Straw Hat Adventure Group, which was well known, would be so polite, and he also responded politely. Seeing that Luffy and his crew ignored him, Bellamy was furious. You guys, how dare you? Luffy said in a relaxed tone. Have a drink. After you finish, tell us where the 2 brothers of Mont Blanc Coulicat are. It's hard to imagine who gave you the courage to challenge us. Ha 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 ha. Mont Blanc Coulicat, I didn't expect you to also dream of Rolando. You actually believe in that illusory dream. Don't laugh to death. Bellamy laughed to himself, and the atmosphere in the whole tavern became tense. You just need to tell us where those 2 people are. We just need them to provide the route to Sky Island. If you value your life, you'd better not mess with us. I'm not interested in you. Quote. Luffy still said slowly. Ha 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 ha. Sky Island. No way. A man like you actually believes such nonsense. It's really funny. Bellamy still didn't realize the current situation. Seeing this, the others were sweating profusely, fearing that they would get into trouble. Bellamy's pirate group members wanted to run to cover the captain's mouth, but no one dared to move. Robin chuckled. Sky Island, it's there. Believe it or not, how to go, when to go, that's our business, it has nothing to do with you. Quote. Hey, hey, hey. I didn't expect a beauty like you to believe such nonsense. What do you think? There is no future for following this captain with naive dreams. Do you want to come and hang out with me? It's guaranteed to be fun. Ha 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 ha. Bellamy was so arrogant. Hearing this, the other people in the tavern were shaking like sieves. The faces of the other people in the Straw Hat Pirates turned cold, and Luffy turned to the tavern owner and smiled. Don't worry, I won't destroy your tavern. Everyone else in the tavern was stunned. Bellamy was very angry at the group's disregard, and his punch was like hitting cotton. Bellamy even shouted, Hey, ladies, this captain has a problem with his brain. Do you have a problem with your brain too? Come and join me. My boss and idol is Doflamingo, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Nami and Vivi calmly took a sip of juice. There are dogs barking. Luffy chuckled. Bellamy, you regard that human trafficker as an idol. It's true that we are not from the same family. Quote. You How dare you insult my idol? Quote, Bellamy's forehead was throbbing with veins. So, who gave you the courage to provoke us? Our dreams don't need to prove anything to you, you don't deserve it. Zoro drank his wine with disdain on his face. To be honest, Luffy couldn't understand why the original book chose to forgive Bellamy's stupidity. It said that pirates without dreams don't deserve to be beaten, and beating them is a denial of their dreams, but why do dreams need to prove anything to others? That is the so-called romance of One Piece, but reality will never tolerate such ignorant and fearless villains. The original book let him go for a while and gave him the opportunity to retaliate. However, in reality, as long as there is absolute strength to eliminate such villains, would anyone keep the villain for the new year? If you have the ability, go outside and make a mark. Bellamy is already very happy. Luffy shook his head helplessly. Killing such a villain would dirty his own hands. Captain, quote, members of the Bellamy pirates tried to hold Bellamy in fear. Don't move, I don't want to dirty my sword. Zoro came behind them with a cold tone, and the members of the Bellamy pirates fell into the abyss, not daring to move. Luffy walked easily to the outside of the tavern, holding a glass of juice, looking down at Bellamy and said, You laugh at Rolando's big talk, which is a small matter, laugh at our dreams, which is also a small matter, anyway, there is no need to prove anything to you. But you laugh at our partners, which is a big deal. Do you want to be my enemy? You little devil, die. Those guys in the old times, they yelled about bullshit dreams all day long, which made people sick. I, Bellamy, am invincible. Bellamy was like a fanatic. In the era when pirates dreamed of treasure hunting, what great secret treasure? What Sky Island? What golden country? That simply cannot exist. Doflamingo will become the king of the world. Luffy didn't even bother to look at him, drank the juice in the cup, raised his left hand slightly, and pointed at Bellamy. Ignorant and fearless, pointing gun. Bellamy was still rushing forward madly when a hole appeared in his forehead. The huge inertia made him fly backwards, and his face still maintained the hideous expression before death. The whole audience was silent. Luffy turned back and smiled, as if nothing had happened just now. Boss, please have another drink. Luffy turned his back to the sun, his clothes fluttering. In the silhouette under the sun, Luffy's figure seemed to have infinite deterrence, looking extremely tall and beautiful. Everyone in the tavern swallowed their saliva and kept silent tacitly. I am Monkey D. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group. As for what I want to do, there is no need to tell you, nor to prove anything to you. Go your own way, don't get in my way. Luffy smiled and released the domineering aura like a deep abyss, but this aura was not aimed at anyone, so no one fell. The domineering aura control is perfect. However, on this day, everyone in Mogu Town felt a chill on their backs, and their spirits were under extreme pressure, as if they had met the king of the world, and no one dared to disobey. After Luffy finished all this, he continued to chat with his friends in the tavern, talking and laughing, as if he had done nothing just now, leaving Bellamy's body exposed in the wilderness, and no one dared to collect his body for him. Naturally, Luffy had no interest in this kind of scum who had no respect for him, nor in his devil fruit ability, and let the ability of the spring fruit dissipate between heaven and earth. Bellamy was killed instantly by the boy he thought was a fool, which was really ironic. Not long after, two noisy apes suddenly broke in, roaring to seek revenge on Bellamy. Ajin looked at the two people speechlessly, and kindly pointed to Bellamy lying outside. The two woke up from their dreams, thanked them, and returned. It's time to go. We should find the way to Sky Island. Luffy stood up, straightened his straw hat, and left with his companions in the Straw Hat Adventure Group. After waiting for the Straw Hat adventurers to leave completely, everyone in the tavern felt relieved. The tavern owner looked at the bag of Bailey given by Luffy with a complicated expression, and he couldn't figure out this moody young man. The tavern owner was wondering, who are these people? Wait for the news bird that may come to see if there is any report about this group of people. Thief, ha 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 ha, I didn't expect you to be so decisive. The so-called new era of those scum is shit, the old era is over, it's just nonsense. People's dreams will never end. Blackbeard Marshall D. Teach sat on the ground by the roadside, holding up a bottle of wine, as if worshipping the sky. Luffy was silent for a moment, and said to Blackbeard word by word. People's dreams will never end, but your dreams are destined not to come true. Roger is not waiting for you, and Joy Boy is not waiting for you either. Blackbeard was choked for a moment, and his veins bulged, but he did not choose to take action after all. He just watched the Straw Hat adventurers go away with a ha 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 ha. In Blackbeard's eyes, the world is just with the winner, and a little impatience will ruin a big plan. The second half of the Grand Line, somewhere in the East Island of the New World. At this moment, the Red Hair Pirates are having a banquet, and an uninvited guest is on the way. Huff, huff, boss. Hawkeye. Hawkeye is here. The sentry was out of breath and reported nervously. The red-haired man who was drinking couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. Don't worry, let's have a drink. The sentry was so nervous that he couldn't see the speaker clearly, so he took a big gulp of wine. No, no, cadres. Where are the cadres? Before he finished speaking, a figure appeared behind the sentry, and the sentry made way in fear. Why are you drunk here again? Hawkeye frowned and said, I came here this time to bring you some interesting news. It's about the man you recognize. Ha 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 ha. Okay, let's have a drink first. Hawkeye was directly led astray by the red-haired man. Luffy, really good. We will meet at the top soon. Red hair, drunken eyes. New World, Dressrosa Kingdom, Royal Palace. Bulu bulu bulu. A rapid den den mushi voice sounded, and Doflamingo answered it. I am Don Quixote Doflamingo. Doflamingo said in a low voice. Wakakakakaka, Tenyasha, guess what interesting news I know? Morgan's cheap voice sounded. If you have anything to say, let it out. Doflamingo's veins popped. He, your subordinate, Bellamy, was just killed in seconds by the captain of the Straw Hat Adventure Group in Magic Valley Town. I happen to have an eyeliner there. I recorded it. Isn't it a coincidence? Morgan said in a playful tone. After hearing this, Doflamingo jumped up and flew away. After learning the specific time of the rising current from Coolicot and capturing the compass bird without any mistakes, the Straw Hat Pirates set out on their journey again. As the Golden Mary gradually went away, the coastline in the distance seemed to be covered by dark clouds, with howling winds and huge waves. But fortunately, Mary was there, and there was no danger along the way. Suddenly, everyone on the Mary had a flash of red in their eyes, and they realized that unknown malice was approaching. An enemy is coming. A strong one. Akin was on guard. Luffy sensed it slightly and grinned. Oh, Flamingo. Quote. If Doflamingo dares to launch an attack, he doesn't mind making the plot of Dressrosa disappear completely. One of the 7 warlords of the sea, Tien Yasha Doflamingo. Vivi said nervously as if facing a great enemy. Calm down. Zoro said calmly. It's coming. Sanji put out his cigarette. Luffy was calm and composed. Doflamingo, give him face and call him Tien Yasha. If you don't give him face, I will let him die. The figure of the showman who came at high speed in the sky suddenly stopped in midair and said in shock. What's going on? Here, this is 8 powerful observation haki. Several of them are completely invisible. Doflamingo shed a drop of cold sweat. Hey, what the hell is this? This is not right. The 8 Straw Hat Adventurers' observation haki seemed to line up to welcome them. Are you coming? Try and you'll die. At this time, Zoro was carrying 3 swords, and he flashed behind Doflamingo, and put the Wado Ikimonji on his neck before Doflamingo could react at all. Don't move, Tenyasha. Our captain asked me to ask you, what can I do for you? Doflamingo was shocked and angry, but he quickly calmed down. The haki flowing from the sword on his neck could really take his life. Doflamingo raised his hands. Don't get excited, I just came to see the situation. Oh, is that so? Zoro said, but his hands didn't relax at all. Since you've seen it, can you please leave now? You killed my men, you have to give me an explanation. Doflamingo said frivolously. No explanation, Bellamy provoked us, so he is gone. Zoro said disdainfully. Doflamingo's forehead was bulging with veins, but he didn't get angry after judging the situation. You are so arrogant. Who are you? Friends of justice, are you satisfied? Luffy quietly appeared beside Doflamingo. Goodbye. Doflamingo seemed unwilling to stay for even a second and turned away. After sending away Don Quixote Doflamingo, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the Straw Hat Pirates gathered together again. Sanji noticed that the newsbird that delivered the newspaper to the Mary was watching the development of the situation intently. Seeing that the Straw Hat Pirates did not fight with Doflamingo, the newsbird seemed to have a humane, regretful expression. Seeing this, Sanji grabbed the newsbird, and the newsbird flapped its wings desperately and tried to escape. Is this Morgan's spy? Do you want to stew it? Quack. The newsbird shook its head desperately in fear, and its whole body was resisting. Forget it, Morgan's. I hope he can report some news that is beneficial to us. Luffy grabbed the newsbird and gave it a lecture. Luffy took a deep look at the newsbird and let it go. On the other side, Morgan stared at the big screen, his eyes were about to pop out. Captain Monkey D. Luffy and crew member Roronoa Zoro of the Straw Hat Adventures vs Doflamingo. Doflamingo actually escaped without a fight. Hehehehe, ha 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 ha. This is incredible. This is big news. Another big news. Doflamingo, who was already on his way back, also had a very gloomy face. He never dreamed that such a group of monsters would appear in the first half of the Grand Line. Not one, but a group. Once this group of people comes to the New World, they will definitely set off a huge wave, and the gears of the times will also have big problems. The structure of the New World will also be greatly impacted. Doflamingo thought, no, we must make plans early. This group of people is really too weird, and they also claim to be righteous. If they stand on the side of the Navy, the consequences will be disastrous. No, the intelligence provided by the Navy about the Straw Hat Adventures is almost completely inconsistent with their strength. Did they seriously underestimate the Straw Hat Adventures? Or did the Straw Hat Adventurers not provide the Navy with real intelligence? Could it be that this Justice Straw Hat Adventurers are not on the same page with the Navy? Doflamingo couldn't help but laugh at this. Foo, how interesting. The Straw Hat Adventurers, this weird group. What is their purpose? If they are not on the Navy's side, where did they come from? Even the Navy was kept in the dark. Hehehehe. In this case, there is no need for me to warn the Navy's idiots, anyway, I don't deal with them. However, the feud with the Straw Hat Adventurers has already been made, and Monet and Buffalo who were sent out before are probably in danger. Hehehehe. What on earth are the intelligence departments of the family and the Navy for? Such an outrageous group of people is full of mysteries. The intelligence is completely inconsistent with the facts. These are not super newcomers at all, they are just a group of weirdos who suddenly appeared. Things. There are no signs, and no specific information. It seems that we have to be more cautious. Straw Hat Adventure Group, I will remember you. Quote. Here, Luffy and Zoro who returned to the Golden Mary were surrounded by the crowd. How is Doflamingo's strength? Are you okay? Luffy smiled. Doflamingo's strength is not very good. In fact, there are already many of us who can knock Doflamingo down head-on. Really? Zoro nodded. Well, I feel that my knife can cut Doflamingo's neck. In order to help readers have a clearer understanding of the current strength of the Straw Hat Group, let's make a rough comparison of strength. Luffy muttered to himself. Don't break the fourth wall. Luffy said solemnly. First of all, it's no problem for me to defeat a Marine Admiral head-on. The companions exclaimed. Luffy continued. Then there's Zoro, who is already a top 4 Emperor's deputy. If we compare their strengths horizontally, Zoro's haki is about equal to Charlotte Katakuri. His observation haki is almost the same as Katakuri's, and they can both see a short future. Oh, by the way, Charlotte Katakuri is the strongest general of the 4 Emperors' Big Mom. Even if 2 Doflamingos in their undefeated periods were tied together, they couldn't beat Katakuri. Everyone was dumbfounded. Don't say I'm arguing, Doflamingo is really not that good. In the original novel, Luffy beat Doflamingo so hard that he couldn't find his way. Katakuri beat Luffy so hard that he couldn't find his teeth. The difference is obvious. Personally, I think Katakuri is a very strong general star, and he has the Conqueror haki, which has a higher upper limit than other vice-captains. He is also a real man. In the original work, he self-harmed and fought Luffy one-on-one. Katakuri's self-harm at least reduced half of his health bar, otherwise Luffy in the original work could only do sit-ups. Doghead Save Life JPG. Next is everyone, using Doflamingo as the unit of combat power. Sanji's haki strength is about Doflamingo's. Akin's haki strength is about Doflamingo's. After all, Akin works very hard, so it's normal to be stronger. Nami's hockey strength is about Doflamingos. As one of the earliest members to join, she still needs to work hard. Usopp's hockey strength is equivalent to Doflamingo's, and his armament hockey can already skillfully wrap around bullets. Chopper's hockey strength is about Doflamingo's. Although he is a doctor, we also need to continue to grow. Robin's hockey strength is about equal to Doflamingo. She has a certain foundation and grows very rapidly. Finally, it is Vivi, who has awakened the two-color hockey not long ago, and is also at the level of Doflamingo. Quote. Everyone was speechless. So, have we reached this level? Luffy nodded. Yes, geniuses may be able to catch up, but we are plugins. The most important thing is that we are still in a period of rapid growth. In the near future, all of us will be far ahead of the world, and the gap between others and us will only get bigger and bigger, until others can no longer see us. Quote, this is the strength of the Straw Hat Adventure Group at this moment. There is no doubt that the strength far exceeds the original work, and it is enough to deal with most of the helplessness. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.